Money makes the world go round, and the fantasy will happen. Will it stop us hurting? Let's find out.
Camel Crew, come close. It's that time again. People losing their minds, calling for the world to end. Sudden trend line break, just to spook you out. If it gets to you, maybe go fishing for some trout. Touch grass, relax, at least wait for a daily close. Keep your marbles intact, appreciate the cycle lows. Manage your risks, set stocks, let time just do the rest. Meanwhile, look forward to another Camel Finance episode to distress. Ask your partner to consider your privacy. Just don't mention your love for charts, will be seen as rivalry. Devote yourself to the cycles, treat them as your muse. At some point, it will pay you back in life-changing views. Touch grass, relax, at least wait for a daily close. Keep your marbles intact, appreciate the cycle lows. Manage your risks, set stocks, let time just do the rest. Meanwhile, look forward to another Camel Finance episode to distress. Left translated cycle or not until November to attest. Uncertain future, have an open mind to be your guest. Some will win, most lose. We'll all have to respect. Just don't over-leverage yourself and get absolutely wrecked. Emotions rise on the way to every high and low. Every day a chance to let your composure grow. Create a mental, spongy, bulletproof vest. If a black swan event arises, then GG for the shorts at best. Touch grass, relax, at least wait for a daily close. Keep your marbles intact, appreciate the cycle lows. Manage your risks, set stocks, let time just do the rest. Meanwhile, look forward to another Camel Finance episode to distress. Like, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Question, remark, put a comment in the chat. Camel Finance is here to help you on your quest. Cycle theory, bigger picture, but you'll have to do the rest.
Hello. Hello. Wild times, eh? What are we doing today? I don't know. Gonna see who's in the chat and say hello to you guys. Thank you all for showing up. It's been a while. Somebody pointed out yesterday was the first live in 3 months or so. So that time has flown by. So hopefully this will compensate for that. I know most of you guys are here for one thing and one thing only. And I can see that. I understand. This ninja sword guy is back as well. What is this, bro? Get out of here with whatever that is. I don't know what this is, but get away. I didn't call anything, bro. I didn't really. Because nothing has happened yet, right? Nothing has happened yet. So yeah, I didn't actually call it. But thank you for coming. Loud and clear. Appreciate you, bro. Okay, let me change this to live chat. And I think that should be a bit more real time. And yeah, so I guess we're doing this. I'm going to tease you a little bit and just say this has happened, but we're going to move this back here. And I'm going to talk a bit first whilst we wait for a few people to get in here. So what's up? Yeah, welcome to the stream. I don't know what we're doing, to be honest. I've got absolutely zero plan apart from to run through some tabs and then see what we can come up with together. So we'll do that. But I wanted to point at this first of all, okay? German PPI is actually deflationary now. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. We've seen China, now we've got Germany in deflation. And in fact, it's been a while since I checked trueflation. We'll do that now. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I mean, it's pretty disinflationary to say the least, isn't it? But it's probably a little overzealous is the truth. Okay, we're probably somewhere between the reported rate and whatever this is. And I suspect this will continue. Counter trend bounces along the way, no doubt. And no doubt when we get this, we'll probably also get a bunch of people go, that's the bottom of inflation, right? Resumption of inflation, blah, blah, blah. But whatever, right? Camel Crew, if you know, you know. I also wanted to point at this because the Chancellor is on the brink of a second bailout for banks, or let's say a third bailout this time, perhaps, as UK unemployment has risen to over a 5-year high, which is actually worse than the C19 era. Okay, we've got higher unemployment than when they locked the world down, killed the middle class, kicked everyone out the pubs, targeted small business owners, right? Unemployment is currently higher than then. So take that as you will, right? I don't know how bad that is. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Yeah, I don't know how bad this is, or how much of this is AI, how much of this is kind of like migration or immigration type related issues. I have no idea. But when unemployment rises, it's normally not a good thing for the economy, let's be honest. So there's that as well. I still wanted to reiterate this message, which is please don't try to force any bottoms just yet, okay? Avoid the overtrading and compounding mistakes. I know there's a temptation when the market sells off heavily or you take some big losses somewhere, even if they're just giving back open profit. The temptation, especially if you're newer, is to kind of say, well, this is overdone, this is oversold, the RSI has never been this low, time to all in here. But all that does is overtrade and compound your mistakes. So please do go slow, okay? That really is a superpower in trading. Most people can't go slow, okay? So if you can, you actually immediately get an advantage over most of the market participants. If you take this thing one day at a time, right, you're never going to react to 1 or 2 days of price action. That is always beneficial because the people that are reactive to 1 day or even sometimes 15 minutes of price data, okay, those people simply cannot succeed, okay? And let the setup come to you, okay? If you watch this channel for any length of time at all, you'll realize that I mostly just sit here and say the same things over and over and over again, which I know is good for a lot of people because a lot of people appreciate cutting through the noise. I know some of the more advanced people here are like, bro, say something new, okay? And as I often joke about, I get sick of my own voice, okay? But the reality is, this is what real world trading looks like. A lot of the time, we sit here and go, yeah, okay, 1 day at a time, long and strong, wait for the cycle low, then it eventually arrives, maybe, and we go, let's wait for a confirmation signal first, okay? Maybe the low comes a bit early, maybe the low comes a bit late, and then we have to explain ourselves over and over again that sometimes they come early and late, right? Okay. And then we have to wait for confirmation. And then eventually, once we've got all of that, okay, weeks and weeks of waiting, a confirmation signal or two, then we can finally just pull the trigger. And then we go right back, of course, to sitting there and waiting for something to happen. So go slow, okay? A lot of people try to force things, and the more you try to force it, the more, especially if you're in a kind of vulnerable emotional state or you're not dealing well with your losses, all you're going to do is harm yourself even further, okay? The best thing you can do now, take a step back, go slow, and wait for the setup to come to you, okay? It could be weeks before tradable longs show up. For Bitcoin, I'm looking out into the middle of the year. I'm looking for the S&P and the stocks at least out into mid-March before I can be long again, okay? Now, again, there's always the wild card. We could invalidate the buy setup and smash through 7K, but where the cycles are pointing at the moment are down for a while, okay? So unless we're going to force an early low, which is not the smart bet based on the probabilities of the cycle system, right? We're not going to say, well, we know about 30, maybe 20% of lows, depending on the asset class, fall early outside of the window, right? We're not going to bet on the 20% outcome. We'll bet on the 70 or the 80% outcome, which is that this low will form inside of the window, okay? So there could be weeks before there's tradable longs for the stock market. And by the way, they're only really tradable for me if we kind of hold this sideways range, okay? If we continue to trend down like the NASDAQ is, confirm this as a lower high in here. Okay, so high, high, and then lower high, lower high. And especially if a lower low follows next, right? Lower lows all the way down. At that point, it's not even really a long setup anymore. It's like we have to call the top here, right? That's just the absolute reality of it. But assuming the most bullish outcome, that's still weeks before we can actually find a tradable low, then wait for it to confirm, okay, and then start to invalidate short setups if that's going to happen. For Bitcoin, it's even worse because Bitcoin has failed a weekly cycle. So relative to this chart, Bitcoin is already about here, right? Heading down for that weekly low mid-year. Again, weeks, realistically, before we can even start to attempt to play either a early bottom or a short-term left translated and failed weekly cycle, yeah? But again, weeks away potentially. There are other instruments, okay? But I think the message hopefully is simple. Don't try to force the bottoms, okay? Don't get chopped up. Quality over quantity here. And to kind of illustrate this point just a little bit extra, okay, I wanted to show you just a few tabs because this could absolutely be right that we have found support on the hash rate. It could also be true that we have found support on the electricity production cost and those kind of things. And if in hindsight we look back after this happens, we would of course be able to say, well, yeah, just like the prior times, okay? And maybe that wouldn't be the most wild outcome in the world. But again, bottoms are often a process, okay? Especially context matters as well. So all of this is a big rip-roaring bull market early in the 4-year cycle. This is not. This is now later in the 4-year cycle with the 4-year lows not far away in time. Meaning, even if we are going to bounce, probably got to chop around a bit first, okay? Again, don't try to force it just yet. Same deal here, okay? It could be that that's the low and this is capitulative and we're going to get a bounce. Or it could be that we're not actually done yet for a while and we've got to chop around here before then we can emerge, okay? And again, I don't think Gel is trying to force a bottom here necessarily, but I'm just saying a lot of people are. And I don't think that's the smart bet. Same as this, right? It's pretty easy to draw a trend line and say, it looks like this is pretty much the bottom. This is the worst possible time to sell, yada, yada, yada. But again, cycles, they're pointing down, right? This is weekly cycle failure. It kind of looks to me like we're probably setting up for something like this, okay? And that would be pretty typical Bitcoin behavior. Let me be clear. We don't have to fall all the way down to 40K straight away. Okay, it could be significantly less. That would also be typical for Bitcoin. On the way down, it likes to kind of chop sideways and then lose power. Okay, meaning the distance of this pullback here versus this one here would be more intense this time around than the second time, right? It's going to lose momentum to the downside and become shallower and shallower as it finds those lows, okay? So we start off with a big spill, consolidate, bigger spill, consolidate, and then smaller spill, lose some power again, maybe one more, puke, okay? And then we go. But that's very typical for Bitcoin. So to try to say that I know what comes next, this, okay? Again, nobody wants it more than me, let me assure you, okay? Let me assure you my life would be infinitely better if I get a second chance to sell 100K or 110K, okay? Like, really, you don't understand how much easier my life would be, okay? Everything would be way better. But, again, no trying to force bottoms, no trying to just make stuff up and say, it's fine, okay? It doesn't matter, this is what comes next, because it probably doesn't, okay? We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be ready to at least find a sideways consolidation that can range break. Those are very easy to spot, okay? When we come down, go sideways, and then break above the top, that's very easy to spot bottom. Same here. When we go down, okay, and then break a range, very easy to spot. But at the moment, we just don't have that. We have instead the kind of bear flags to the downside. So I think we've got to be open to that, okay? Just take your time. But time will soon fly by, okay? Like I said, 3 months since the last live stream, if we exclude yesterday. It's not going to be long, right? It's not going to be long before we can start to say we're pretty much at the bottom. We're pretty much ready to start accumulating, pretty much ready to start taking advantage of what I believe will finally be that cycle, okay? I think the way it's worked is people have been way too over bullish. Like even during the 2017 bull run, when we topped at 20K for Bitcoin, a lot of people were calling for, hundreds of thousands of dollars per coin back then. And then, of course, we correct into a bear market. We go down to 3K. And then it's like, okay, we've had the bear market. We've had the parabola violate. Now it's time to go. Okay, we get the whole C19 shakeout midway through. We get record QE and printing. Everyone is calling for 300K Bitcoin again, okay? And it tops at 69K for the memes, right? For the culture. And then we get another bear market. And then, of course, we run from the 16-ish K lows up to the 126 this cycle. And again, everyone or a lot of people, including myself, were thinking this is the time. We're finally going to get to the 250k plus targets. And of course, we fell short of that by about 50%. Sorry if I punched the mic there. But I think finally, once this bear market resolves, okay, irrespective of where we go in terms of the downside, whether the lows are pretty much in and we mostly just go sideways here, timing based 4-year low and go, whether we go down another 80% from where we are, okay, or anything in between, once monetary policy aligns, interest rates are at or near zero, we got record QE that dwarfs what we saw in the C19 era, okay? I submit to you, especially because we would have had about 2 halvings between the C19 print and the upcoming print late this year, okay? We're going to have the scarcest asset on earth by a country mile, okay? Like the inflation rate of gold will dwarf the inflation rate of Bitcoin by the time we get round to the middle of next cycle. And so people that really know about this asset and people that are highly incentivized to protect their capital from huge amounts of inflation are going to select Bitcoin like you've never seen before. I am sure of that, okay? Because let's be honest, okay? If you're kind of, what's the word? I'm just going to say it. If you're kind of poor, okay, then you can't buy Bitcoin and gold in size. You don't have a huge incentive to protect your gains and your wealth because you don't really have any wealth yet, right? But if you're super rich, okay, you already own loads of gold. You've already got loads of equity. You're already in this position where you're borrowing against all your assets all the time and then trying to find different ways to take the yield off and blah, 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 right? Once they announce record QE, what else are you got left to accumulate? Okay, you have to start buying Bitcoin in size. The upside is way more asymmetrical for Bitcoin than it is for the likes of, say, gold and silver out of those lows. I do think the mining stocks are going to be insane for both the crypto miners and the gold miners. Okay, huge opportunities. There's no one more bullish than me. Let me assure you of that. But again, like a lot of people kind of show up to this space and they go, oh, I can't afford a whole Bitcoin at 15k, so let me just buy a Harry Potter, Sonic, Obama 10, Inu, or whatever it is, right? If I just buy 1 million of those coins for 10 pence and it goes to $1, I'll be a millionaire. That's what a lot of people say, if we're being honest, okay? And I'm still seeing it now, that these psychopaths that are into altcoins are saying, yeah, well, all we've got to do is get through the bear market and then buy alts heavy. And I'm like, bro, did you learn nothing? Did you actually learn nothing, right? But the big money is going to say, this is a sub-trillion asset class or around 1 trillion by the time the lows are in, okay? And it's even more scarce than gold, okay? It's completely deflationary, right, in terms of its supply issuance. So which are you going to buy, right? Which are you going to buy? Of course, you're going to put a big allocation to Bitcoin down there, right? What do you think this entire cycle has been about? It's been about positioning the big boys ready to take advantage for next cycle when monetary policy aligns. All the regulations are done. All the rails are laid, okay? And I think, again, you're going to see the most bullish camel ever. But I do think finally, after about 3 cycles of cheering on $250,000 per coin, we are actually going to get to see it next time around, okay? So there is my TED talk on how bullish camel is coming out of these 4-year cycle lows and how I think everyone would do well instead of to try to force a bottom like this, okay? Which, of course, if we get it, we'll conquer this no problem, okay? But I don't think it's reasonable to have this as the base case. I think it's better to be long and strong and wrong if something like this unfolds, right? And until then, let's just be patient. Let's just protect the capital, not get chopped up, okay? Not get, caught with our pants down trying to revenge trade or win anything back. Let's just sit back, right? We're just going to trade on vibes for the next few months, right? Okay? And then everything will be good, okay? Everything will be super good. So I'm going to hop into some comments and see what we're saying. I see Chemo in the house. You're way late. I don't think you're way late, bro. I don't know how long I've been rambling for. 18 minutes. How do I do it? BBL hotline is crazy, by the way. Is this financial advice? No, but you should probably do it anyway. Aliens. No aliens. All right, what do we reckon? Who makes the songs? That's an easy one to answer right out of the gate. That is Sheepherder, aka Gizmo XXL. I will put a link in here as well. I normally do this. I did it last week. If anyone wants to go and check out Gizmo's work, then you can go here in the chat and click the link. Boom. Oh, it won't let me copy and paste it. What the heck? How does that work? Why not? Let me have it, bro. Try that. that better? Boom. There you go. That one's easy. Shout out Sheep Herder as well. So, are you all here for the aliens? Is that what it is? I guess we're doing it. It doesn't even feel right to be doing it at full unconfirmed bear market territory yet, but I guess we got to do this, right? So, let me kick things off by asking you guys to answer this poll real quick, okay? Aliens this year. Yes, no. So before you answer this poll, let me be clear, okay? I'm asking aliens this year, and I want to know, I've said yes or no, right? But what I'm talking about is not just some disclosure that doesn't really go anywhere. I'm not talking about, when I ask aliens this year, I'm not talking about, we think they might be here, but we haven't got any evidence, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about undeniable, the whole world pivots from, not really knowing anything to they're standing them up in front of people. People are interacting with them. It turns out they've been here the whole time, or they come down in UFOs and start fighting with people. Okay, I'm talking about like the most concrete evidence, undeniable, undisputable evidence. Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I say aliens this year. So let me know what you guys think. I want to get like a quick vibe check using this poll. And if you think they're demons, because I know some people do, okay, that'll do as well, okay? If demons show up in some kind of manifest form, that's good enough to say yes. But I'm talking about, like, not just saying, oh, we're going to release some docs, and then, like, 90% of it is redacted, or they're just referencing Roswell from years ago, okay? And, like, who cares? We already know that. We didn't learn anything new, okay? Sorry about punching the mic repeatedly. BBL hotline. Aliens before GTA 6 is crazy. Have I seen Polymarket for aliens? Yeah, we're gonna get there in a moment. Do we dump today and over the weekend? Iran. I mean, I don't care, bro. Let the cycles do the thing, right? I'm not worried about whatever the narrative is, or... Well, we know where the cycles are pointing, so we can deduce that much. Nothing ever happens. Crack and pipe. I'm kind of with you on that, to be honest. Like, that's why I was wanting to be really clear when I said yes or no, what I'm talking about here. Because it's like these island guys, right? Like, they release the docs. No one really cares because everything's redacted. Nothing really happens. They release a second round. It's a bit less redacted, but again, like, nothing really happens. And now the third round is so intense, isn't it, that even the conspiracy theorists are like, oh, how do I deal with that, right? And then still nothing happens. Like, no one's in trouble. No one's getting investigated. No one's in jail yet, right? No one's going to be in jail yet. Somehow it's just... somehow just nothing's happening about it, right? Somehow it's probably still going on. Somehow. Aliens coming for the Bitcoin. I don't know, man. I doubt they're going to get mine, to be honest. I doubt it. But they can try. Crypto currently makes up 20% of the model portfolio. Yeah, but it's a model. It's a model. It's a model. And I even said in that video that these are hypothetical numbers. So don't worry about that. Do I expect crypto to go higher? Yeah, a lot of people keep asking me about, like, if stocks are in a lost decade, are you bearish Bitcoin? Like, hell no. Bitcoin is super scarce and not overvalued, right? Stocks are trading on, like, PE multiples in the high 3 figures, some of them, right? Like, they can go in a lost decade because we've priced in, like, PLTR. You've got to think about what the PE ratio for PLTR means. It was on 640 something PE. Okay, price to earnings. That means if the company maintains its earnings for 640 years, we will finally reflect the share price value. That's what we're talking about here, right? We've already priced in centuries of future earnings for these companies. So to say they're going to spend 10 years churning sideways is not really an outrageous call or prediction, okay? It's just to say, I believe in a mean reversion at some point. But Bitcoin, you know, super scarce supply, all the inflation or lack of inflationary supply I was talking about earlier, a couple more halvings behind us by the time we get middle of the next cycle, right? And then record QE, like if it can't go to 6 figures and probably high 6 figures that cycle, it's never going to, then it's failed, hasn't it? It has to go to the high numbers on 20 trillion plus of QE. And if it can't, then we have to kind of ask ourselves, like, was there ever anything to this asset class in the first place? You know, that's its whole point, that it responds to printing. It's the black hole for liquidity. And if it's not going to pump on record QE, then what are we doing with it? We should just be owning gold and silver, right? Aliens, we should form a one world government. We should, and probably we should give all our money to that one world government so they could protect us from the aliens, right? Cycles are in control, but Elon is supposed to take that public. I don't know. If cycles are in control, then they're in control, and we don't need to concern ourselves with that other stuff, right? We can't really say cycles are in control, but let me just allow myself to pay attention to this narrative. You know, it's either narrative or it's not. Heard anything about Matchbox? No, I did ask the customer services at the start of this month, and they told me the end of this month, and it doesn't look like they've made any progress. They also said that to me in January, by the way. So, but I'm trying to get a little, I want to get an account going and then even start a little side quest on the channel where we try to bet on things like rate cuts and whatever and economic data. It's in the back of my mind. That's why I want it so bad. I just think it'll be fun content. Alien with laser eyes, maybe. Hey, brother, thank you. Yeah, logged in. Okay. When's the time for the TLT trade? We already have called a bottom in TLT. And level 3 members and I are already long. Camel, are you going to miss Pow? I don't really know Pow, to be honest. So no. All right, let's take a look at this poll. If you haven't answered, 175 votes 6 minutes ago. We're about 50-50 on the aliens, actually. Aren't we? Pretty much 50-50. So if you haven't answered, do you believe we're going to get actual, concrete, undisputable, indisputable, whatever the word is, evidence of aliens this year? And then the question is as well, and maybe just type this in chat rather than answer the poll, is like, if that happens, let's assume they actually come here, right? Like I said, like undeniable evidence, they're walking around amongst us, right? If that happens, what are the industries or institutions or education systems or whatever that fail? And what are the ones that thrive, right? Because when we can answer these questions, then we can find the opportunity. So what is it? What is it that's going to pump? Defense, I'm guessing, has got to be one of them, right? Space stuff, aerospace has probably got to be another one. What's the first industry or institution to collapse following the invasion? I think these are the types of questions we want to start by asking ourselves. Do you need a pro trading account for your type of returns? No, not at all. Runs over the alien in a new car on a live stream as well. Yeah, Polymarket odds down to 5% for March rate cut. Looks like a good bet. Is Powell not your pal? I don't know him. I don't know like what kind of lizard shapeshifter guy you think I am, but I don't hang out with Powell. I don't know Powell. There is a UFO ETF launching. Yeah, UFO D. Bruh. Communication with aliens, but indisputable evidence. Okay, meme coins. Yeah, meme coins are probably gonna pump, but I don't know if I want anything to do with them. All right, we're pretty much at 50-50 here for this year, aren't we? Which is pretty crazy. I don't know what I was expecting, actually. I said pretty crazy. I'm not sure what I was expecting. Let me walk over this, okay, and we'll see. So I woke up this morning to no less than 100 and something notifications, and I would say 99% of them were just tagging me in this stuff, okay? That's why I decided we're going live, because I just thought it was pretty funny. So, you know, we had Obama come out and say something like aliens are real, okay? And then we had Trump come back and say he made a big mistake by saying that and revealing classified information. Okay, so there's that. We know that Trump has also ordered governments to release classified files on aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrial life, and unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, right? Which is also kind of weird. He has also then posted this tweet here, okay, saying that he is indeed going to disclose information pertaining to all of that stuff. And of course, Polymarket is doing Polymarket things and starting to bid the bets up, okay, that we are going to confirm them before the end of this year. And now what I wanted to share with you guys, because we could sit here and spitball on this stuff a lot, okay? But what I wanted to show you was how a lot of people think what happens is markets are fine and dandy, okay? Aliens come in here at the top, okay? I was going to draw a UFO. I don't even know if I have the... There you go. Whatever. Okay? They arrive at the top, and then the day that they arrive, this happens, okay? And it's the black swans. This is what people think, generally speaking. It's the black swans that cause crashes. But this is actually false. Typically what happens is the market tops first, okay? And then once it's on its way down here, black swans show up, okay? That is typically how it goes. Now, if we go back to the C19 era here, okay, which is about here, you'll notice that this was actually in the news sometime around this area here, right? They first started to talk about it in this kind of era here, okay? And the market continued to trend up for a while longer, right? It wasn't until panic set in, and they started to actually lock things down, that things got really bad, right? But that narrative, the reason I'm pointing at this is the narrative was building for months ahead of this, okay? And thus, if we ask ourselves at the hard right edge, how long has the narrative been building, okay? Has it been months? I would say it pretty much has. And 4 months now, we have been kind of just grinding higher, okay? Getting ready for this, okay? Now, I'm not saying that it has to go the same way, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, aliens have landed and the markets spill. But it seems crazy to me that the markets would pump on that news, right? People just always panic. There's always like an excuse for a crisis and everything else. And then usually, by the time you get halfway down, some kind of black swan shows up, okay? And that black swan is usually like some institution collapsing, some hidden leverage somewhere in the system or whatever. And that was what we saw during the Bitcoin bear market, as we've pointed to several times before. You know, we're back here. Okay, top comes in, QT or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then it's in here, we get like, oh, BlockFi blows up, and then Voyager blows up. I can't remember the exact order. And then you get here, and it's FTX blows up, right? But the market tops well in advance of those black swan liquidations and blow-ups, right? Same during the GFC, Lehman Brothers, right? Like the market tops. The market tops for months, right? And it's not till like here somewhere where the Lehman Brothers collapses. And then you get this. So like the tops in the recession caused the black swan, not the other way around, okay? And so why is this useful? Why have we got to define these things? Well, because one of two things could be happening here, right? Either we've completed the grind up, okay? And maybe it continues for a while longer. I'm not saying we can't keep going higher for a little while longer. But if we do something like this, and then a crash is going to come to kind of force an early 4-year cycle low and go, similar to the C19 plunge, I would be thinking it probably is masked by, or at least attributed to something along these lines, right? That has been the idea of mine for a while. But there's another path that we could potentially take here. It's like, what if we're already in the process of topping? Okay, we do something like this. Okay, it seems like a healthy correction. It doesn't have to go this low either. Okay, let's just say it's not even that bad. It's like this. Okay, and then we go. And then we get the black swan, right? The aliens show up, whatever it is. It could be war, it could be some invasion, right? It could be some financial institution collapsing, it could be something we can't even think of. Black swans, by definition, are supposed to be completely unpredictable. So the fact that we can't really predict this maybe says it's not a black swan. But then again, you can make the argument, can't you, going back to the C-19 era, that for months it was on the news. There's a pandemic spreading around the globe, and like things are getting worse and worse, and there's more and more cases, and then finally, boom, it goes, right? So, and we call that the black swan, but it wasn't really. Like, we knew about it for months in advance. Same as this, yeah, same energy. So I don't know the path, but I do know probably we're going to see one or two things, right? If you ask me. And those one or two things is really like an orderly bear market and a recession and a walk down. Something like this, okay? Maybe a bit bigger than this. Whoa, not that big. Something like this, okay? And then we just say, well, yeah, 4-year cycle, about 3 years up, bear market, 4-year low, off we go again, okay? That would be normal. But because we are in this kind of very, very late stage cycle, because when we zoom out to a monthly chart and turn this off, okay, we don't need any TA at all to see that this thing is completely parabolic since the last lost decade, okay? Valuations are sky high. This is probably some sort of hyperwave completing, okay? If all of that is true, and you remember that silly chart that people didn't like that I posted? Well, a lot of people didn't like, a lot of people got angry with it, which is this one, okay? If some kind of mean reversion here is on the cards, okay, some kind of very, very significant decline, and we don't know that it is, but if it is, can anyone actually nominate a better narrative to explain this away? Okay, because there's always the cycles that are in control, and the cycles and the mean reversion and everything else is pointing to this type of thing, right? But they never just allow something like this to happen and nobody has a clue why. It never just happens for no reason. There's always some sort of narrative, right? And for me, to get this kind of end of 100-year bull market, right, or 100-year uptrend, I know it's been broken up by lost decades along the way, okay, but to get even something like this to occur here, okay, do we need some kind of crazy narrative, okay? And remember, I'm not really just saying this because, like, YOLO, right? I'm not really just saying, like, guys, it's probably aliens. Like, I smoked some crack this morning and it's come to me. It's got to be aliens, right? I'm not saying it like that. I'm basically saying this is in the charts, okay? Something akin to this. Now, it could be worse and it could be better than this, okay? But this is in the charts, not just this channel and not this YouTube channel, not just this trends channel here, right? But also the 4-year cycles, also the macro, also the fact all of the 4-year cycles are weirdly synced up to bottom at the end of this year. Also that the macro and monetary policy aligns, right? We've been through record jobs revisions and fudging the data and losing the data and withholding the data and all of that other stuff, all of the games and chicanery that's been going on, okay? And I'm just saying, something like this seems to be pretty much around the corner, okay? And if something like this is around the corner and we're talking significant technical damage on the charts, a significant mean reversion, big declines across the board, right? A global recession, bear market, and a deflationary component towards the 4-year cycle lows, right? If all of that is true, then the only narrative I can think of that makes sense is this, okay? And again, I haven't just imagined this. We are literally seeing them do this with our eyes, right? I haven't just plucked this out of thin air and everyone's like, oh yeah, that seems like a wild idea, Camel. It's like, no, the President of the United States and the Department of Secretary of War, which is a mad title, okay, they are literally saying things in tweets like, we're about to disclose this, right? We're about to share information with you. You know, Obama makes this statement and then Trump comes out and says that was classified. He should have kept his mouth shut. You know, so this is not like actual crack pipery anymore. This seems at the very minimum to me to be the media, the mainstream outlets, the narrative controllers, orchestrators in general are pushing this forward, okay? They are kind of being like, hey, Mr. Normie, hey, Joe Average, come here, chew on this, right? Take a bit of Epstein stuff, take a bit of this, take a bit of that. Oh, and by the way, there might be aliens, okay? Just chew on that for a while. Okay, they're doing this to kind of like control the mind control slaves, right? That's what they're doing. They kind of like, they tell the masses what to think and how to think and what to believe and what not to believe, okay? And right now, I've been saying this for a long time and it's only just starting to get attention because now it's kind of being confirmed in plain sight for everyone to see. But I have noticed, and I know I'm not the only one, that they have been drip feeding and trickling this information into Joe Average's brain, haven't they? For years now, they have been slowly but surely like, here, you want a little teaspoon of UFO stuff, bro? Just sip on this. Take your medicine. Okay, we tell you how to think and what to think. And then they just kind of let them go. And they're like, oh yeah, cool, UFOs. You see the game last night, right? It's that stupid meme, but that's how these people behave and think, right? They don't actually think. They're told how to behave and think, right? They are guided and conditioned. And so now we have gotten to the point where they go from a teaspoon to a tablespoon of medicine. Here, Joe Average, you haven't had your tablespoon yet. Just sip on this, right? And they just keep increasing the dose over and over and over again until now we just put it on the mainstream for everyone to see, right? They are outing all of the leaders as people that behave in heinous, vile behavior, okay? No one is safe. Royalty, politicians, celebrities, every man and his dog, okay, that is anyone of any notoriety has been caught doing something insane, okay? And not only have they been caught doing something insane, but it's being blasted for every man and his dog, every member of Joe Average to be seeing and accepting now. They're being forced to accept that this is part of the world that we live in, right? And also, at the same time, they're being forced to know and to be taught and to be shown that apparently aliens are a bigger deal than people thought, right? Apparently, aliens might just be real. There might just be some disclosure coming. We might just be about to finally stop being lied to, okay? And that's kind of their own words. It's not me saying they've been lying to us, right? They are telling us that, this information has been withheld and God bless America and the people deserve to know the truth. That's our leaders' quote, right? Our leaders' words. This is the direction it's going. And it just makes me think, okay, that whether they're real or not, whether they're demons or not, whether it's a blue beam type, what do you call it, like projection in the sky, I don't got a clue. I don't actually care because, believe it or not, cycles are in control. Everything else is narrative, right? But the cycles are in control, and the cycles are saying we're soon to be in a big global deflationary bear market and recession, okay? And on top of that, every other recession in history has had a big narrative appended to it. And I think, if I had to guess, and it is just a guess, this is my best case. It's my base case and my best guess for what is about to come with this, okay? And I think, again, for a lot of time, people are like, bro, like, you need to chill out, okay? But all of a sudden now people are saying I called it. And let's be clear, because I didn't call it, right? It hasn't happened yet. So we can't jump up and down and say we were right about this. Not that we care about being right or wrong anyway, right? But we can't say I called this yet because there's no aliens here. We really haven't made any progress in terms of actual disclosure or finding any aliens. But what we have done, I think, is continue to wave this flag to say, hey, yo, Joe Average, Joe Blogs, like Mr. Normie, like pay attention to this because we're about to blow your mind, right? We're about to rock your world here, okay? That's what it looks like to me. And remember, we kind of live in this construct where what the most people on Earth believe manifests in reality, right? What the aggregate net consciousness, the collective consciousness believes in aggregate is what tends to manifest on Earth. And so I think that's what we're seeing. They're basically just like, we just got to convince 51% of Earth that these things might be here or might be coming. And then they will be here and they will be coming, right? Because that's a weird kind of universe thing that we live in. So anyway, that's my rant. Let me check in and see what you guys think, because I don't know. Am I just crazy? I still think I'm the crazy one, even though it seems to be right for now at least. So let me know what you think. What is this? I don't know. Get out of here. Okay, go away. Religions take a beating. This is something I don't agree with. I think you could only say this if you've never met a truly religious person. Like, nothing can shake the faith of a truly religious person. I think if you've got any like lukewarm people on that are lukewarm religion subscribers, they could probably be shaken. But like a truly religious man who has experienced God himself cannot be convinced otherwise, right? Like a truly religious person will just say the aliens are demons, right? Or that it's all a psyop, or that it's a fake alien invasion, or whatever it is, or that it's like about to be the rapture and the end of the world. or that it was in their holy scripture the whole time based on their interpretation. Like, I don't think a lot of religions are actually going to suffer very much, to be honest. That's my thought. Perfect way to distract from the island guys. Yeah, something tells me they're implicitly linked, to be honest. Google hyperwave. I don't think Google's a hyperwave. I think it's just a parabolic blow off top. And I think it's broken down. Aliens are bold. I'm investing in head shavers. I mean, it checks out. So it'll pump on alien news, dump mandatory anal probing laws. What if the aliens land and they're going to buy all the stocks? I don't think they are, bro. I don't think they are. Rapture will correlate. Invasion will correlate. The rapture. Maybe. Is Blue Owl Capital a canary in the coal mine? I don't know about Blue Owl Capital. Disclosure Day movie is also coming out. Yeah, however, I'm super skeptical about any of these disclosure movies and stuff because there's been quite a few of them and they always build hype and then they usually are paywalled. Like, wasn't the last one like $20 or something? $25. And then it really didn't have anything we didn't know already in it. Like, it was well produced and they'd spent money on it and there was eyewitness testimonies, but we really didn't learn anything from it. So, again, like, I'll believe it when I see it. Are they going to buy the? Are they going to buy the top or the bottom? I mean, yeah, they probably are not going to come here and top tick anything. But I don't think they're coming here for that anyway. I don't know. I really don't know. But like this, my entire existence, this world has just become more and more insane. And it just keeps trending that way for some reason. Entropy, I guess. We trend towards more and more disorder over time. The Anunnaki apparently do want gold, so I would think maybe gold gets bid, but who knows? Who knows? I don't even know if they're real. The false messiah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Your thoughts have long been a big decline in markets or currency crisis. I've had a crack pipe epiphany. Yeah, currency crisis, like that's the thing. Like the currencies are all at the end of their cycles, right? They typically last like 100 years on average, maybe less actually, less than 100 years is a better way to say that. And then usually we're at this stage now where like they would start to hyperinflate the dollar over the next like couple of decades, and then a rising power, which in this case would be China, would rise up and try to take the world reserve status. Usually it's resolved via a world war, and then the dollar would be replaced as the world reserve currency with the Chinese yuan, or whatever it's called. And then we do it all over again, right? 100 odd years of Chinese leadership and world reserve status until eventually they print that thing into oblivion and some other rising power comes up and takes it. But this time around, it might be that we've seen that enough times and they want to do a digital component or a one world currency to make it fair instead of have to allow people to have a world war over the rising power and the dollar dominance being dethroned. So maybe it is, that's what it is. Maybe we just kind of inflate all of the currencies to death and then go to a gold-backed system and a one world currency. I don't know, maybe. But then my other thought is, are America going to want to give that up? Or are they just going to want to try and have a fairer system so they can maintain most of the control without incentivizing China to go to war over their currency? That's kind of been my idea. And that's why I keep calling this thing a controlled demolition, because I think they have to blow it up so they can rebuild it. And then if they're going to keep China at bay from challenging them for the world reserve, they have to pretty much offer them something that is good enough on their side of it, right? They have to be offered a good enough deal so that they don't decide to try to take the world reserve status. But China is also known to play 5D chess, isn't it? Over like hundreds of years. It comes up with its plan and it plays the long and the slow game. So maybe it's just never been interesting for China to have a piece of the pie and instead they want the whole pie. I also had another idea. This isn't even my idea, but it kind of links into all of this stuff. This is Chuck's idea, but what if this whole thing is actually like a fake alien invasion and It's really about the US convincing the rest of the world that they've got alien technology to disincentivize China from challenging them for the world reserve currency. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that either. Or it could be none of this stuff. And maybe it's not even that bad, and we just get a 22% bear market, 4-year cycle low, and we just keep going on the crazy train. Up and to the right, bro. No lost decade, no more 4-year cycles. Well, normal 4-year cycles, but no more crashes, right? No more hyperinflation. And just everything is good. And maybe this is all just a mind in wreckage. People being prepared through the media. That's what I've been saying. That's exactly what I've been saying. Like I was just kind of ranting about earlier on. That's just what it looks like to me. You know, it wasn't even that long ago. You know, how many years? I don't know, 10 years ago, let's say. If you asked the majority of people if aliens were real, like most people would be like, nah, it's ridiculous, it's ridiculous. You might find like a small percentage of the population that were like, well, mathematically, like, or probabilistically, if there's infinite galaxies out there, then one of them must have life, right? But nowadays, it's like a lot more people are like, yeah, there's UFOs and UAPs and, oh, yeah, there was that on the news and blah, blah, blah. I think it's just going that way. Same as if 20 years ago you talked about the stuff that's been going on the island, right? People would lock you up for being schizophrenic, right? But nowadays you can say that stuff and people are like, yeah, crazy, right? Like that's a big shift. That is a big, big shift. And I don't believe that that's for no reason. Like, I think this is all deliberate and slow and methodical. I just haven't... The thing that's missing for me is I just haven't fully been able to understand why yet. Like, that's the bit that I can't quite reconcile. Don't I think they might just be trying to get people to stop talking about the Epstein stuff? It might be that, But then again, I would say no, and here's why. Don't the FBI release the data, or the government release the data? And haven't they had it for like 2 decades nearly, there or thereabouts? They've known about it forever. They chose to only recently release it. Why? Why are they only recently releasing it? And would they really go through all this hassle of releasing it and redacting it and then doing it in batches, right, where the batches get progressively more heinous? And then have the mainstream cover it all, only to then be like, oh, yeah, sorry, we didn't mean to. Oh, I think we went too far. Let's just throw some aliens out there, try to distract people. Like, I don't think that's it. I think this whole thing is part of the same transition. Joe Average and his dog, which is probably called something like dog. What are the averages for cycle theory? Around 70%. If you mean the lows, 70 to 80% of the lows fall inside of the windows, depending on the asset class. According to my system and my back testing. Yeah, aliens is the only way the elites can brush past and move on. I'm not even sure. Because I think they could have continued to get away with it and continued to just do whatever they wanted. I think they're probably still doing it. And I don't think this is like the people caught them red-handed and now they're running scared. Like, oh no, we've been caught. I don't think that's what it is. I think they had a long-term plan to release this stuff, and I think that's what they're doing. That's the thing. I think by us kind of giving our energy to it and talking about it and it becoming mainstream knowledge, I think somehow that actually plays into their hand, to be honest with you. Same with this UFO stuff. Like, if true, then, you know, how long has this been going on for? How long have they known about this stuff? Probably decades, right? Probably like 50 plus years at least. There's stuff in World War II that links back to like occult magic ceremonies and UFO type stuff, right? And then there's, I forget the name of it. I always forget the name of it. Is it like Operation Paperclip? Someone correct me. But where they took all the Nazi scientists, and they were the ones that actually allegedly put man on the moon, right? They took them all after the World War II, and then they were the ones that built the rockets for NASA because they had access to all of this like occult technology and stuff. There's like, I think it's Operation Paperclip. Someone correct me, please. But it's like all implicitly linked, and it's been going on forever, is my point. And so, like, is it really that we just think we, the people, have just figured this out now and are like, oh my gosh, like, we got you, caught you. I see you, bro. Like, I don't think so. I think they decided to let us know on purpose. But The president and the midterms is my least favorite idea. I really don't think he has any control over what happens, to be honest. Yeah, lots of you are saying, yeah, it is paperclip. Oh, we got some... Oh, I'm so far behind. I am batshit crazy. I might be. And I'll be the first to admit that. I am honestly the first to admit that. I think if it's probably your first time watching. New religion, more false gods. Could be that. Could be that for sure. Jesus returning instead. Could be that too. Return of the Messiah was mentioned earlier. The aliens couldn't be any worse than the evil we face now. Bring them on. Well, it's a good point, because this is another one of my crack pipe ideas. It's like, what if they are deliberately revealing the Epstein stuff, okay, to basically signal to the world that all of us have elected and entrusted leaders and officials that steal and eat and kill and molest our babies, okay? Like, what if that's actually what it's about? Signaling to the world, like, oh, okay, every single one of these leaders is actually basically a demon from a horror movie that's so abhorrent that it wouldn't even make for good cinema, right? Like, what if that's the whole point of this? Like, eventually get everyone that bows down and worships the royals or the politicians, or instead of have God, their God, and the people they worship are celebrities and Hollywood and musicians or whatever, right? Like, what if it's about showing the world that, like, you guys have all been bowing down and putting these people on a pedestal, when really, like, you can't trust them to be around your kids, and they're, like, probably the definition of evil. Like, they are engaged in the most evil practices that you could really imagine. And so, therefore, they then bring in some kind of alien or new entity, and they're like, this is your leader now, right? You have to first get the people to abandon the trust in the leaders. And I have long wondered if that is what this is about. And again, it kind of fits with the controlled demolition. It's not just about finance. It's like they're tearing down the entire system, the entire trust-based system, to usher in something new. It could even be the Antichrist. It actually fits rather well with the Book of Revelation and the Antichrist stuff. So maybe that's another outcome, right? Don't know, bro. I don't know. I can't believe we've got to bear market activities already, to be honest with you. We haven't even topped yet. Let me check. Can anyone tell me... Hang on a minute. This one? Yeah, okay. It's not like these aren't... Yeah, these are not super popular live streams. But they are well requested, so it is what it is, right? Anyway, yeah, again, I'll be the first to admit I might be batshit crazy, to use your words. Absolutely possible. Obama producing the Leave the World Behind movie. Yeah, so again, thank you for the $5, bro. I need it, because bear market vibes. Yeah, like that's weird in and of itself, right? That is super weird. And then you look at it, and it has that weird technology where they're like blasting some sort of energy weapons at people, and they're like, is crushing them. And then apparently they might have used that. I can't verify if they did or not. I don't really care, to tell you the truth. But they might have used that stuff in the Venezuelan capture of the president, or the invasion, whatever you want to call it. And like, people are reporting that maybe that happened, right? And then it's like, was that more predictive programming? Like, what have they got to be so involved in those types of end of the world movies? Again, tearing down the system, all of that stuff. It all kind of fits, right? Like, I think at this point, if it happens, you can't really look back at all this in hindsight and say, like, we couldn't have seen it coming. That's one of my favorite ways to look at things, is like, if we just imagine this all plays out, will we be able to look back and say, well, yeah, it kind of looked obvious in hindsight? And I think this would. I just think it would look pretty obvious, most of this stuff. I'm not claiming to have the answers. Again, I can't really reconcile how it is all linked together, or what exactly is the end goal. But we are in that neighborhood where I think we're going to find out. Unless you're about 85 years old, I think you've got enough years left on this earth to find out exactly what is about to happen and why. I just think it might take a little more time. They could throw a God isn't real, these aliens made us up type deal. Sounds like something an Antichrist might say. Do I hold XRP? What is XRP? Can I do some astrology videos? I know nothing about astrology, bro. I really don't. I've never really believed in it. I don't know. I've never looked into it much. I don't know why. you'd think probably based on everything else I like to talk about and engage in, astrology is probably like the most normal thing out of all of it. But for some reason, I can't get behind it. I don't know why. Yeah, the Zorro Ranch thing being connected. Yes, I've actually known about that for a lot longer than most people. Yeah, it's long been a suspicion. That's been around for a while. It's just not very well known. That goes back to what I was saying earlier as well. How like 10 or even more years ago, if you were to talk about this stuff, people would just think you were absolutely batshit crazy, to use like whoever that was his words. And I still think that to some degree, but we are, right, progressing through this. Alien tech bubble. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, really. Would you? Lutnick bought ETH. I don't care. ETH is going to $200. I stand with that call. And when I saw how bad sentiment was around that and how nobody had a counter idea, everyone was just like, idiot, clown, insult, another insult. Yeah, well, you were wrong once before, so you'll be wrong again. Like, that was everyone's reaction. And I was like, okay, guaranteed. 200, absolutely certain at this point. If it's 600, I'm still going to say I was right. But I reckon we're going sub 900 this year for ETH. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay, it's fine, whatever. But sub 900 ETH, and I think I'm going to buy a lot of ETH, even though I hate it. Kind of like how I'm going to buy dollars soon. I don't really like dollars, but I'm going to buy dollars anyway. Greenland. I don't really know much about Greenland. Can they pump SealJ? Yeah, I think we're going to be long SealJ today. I think. We'll see. Bunch of movies and games set to release around the 4-year lows. Oh, there. I wouldn't know. I actually don't like games or movies. My dear friend Chuck made me watch a couple recently, and I was like, bro, never again. One of them was important, but the second one, I was just like, bro, don't do that to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I haven't got ADHD, but I react like somebody with ADHD when you sit me down in front of a movie. They just piss me off. I don't know why. How I'm so eloquent if you hate books. I mean, to be honest, I think everyone where I live sounds like this. I don't think I'm super eloquent. It's nice that people do say that, but I don't really think I'm particularly wordy. And yeah, I do hate books, but I watch a lot of like YouTube videos, and I always have done, and I like learning, so maybe that's where I get it from. But it's funny because this accent is, if you know where it's from, you know where it's from. And a lot of people sound like this, but it's actually a poor area. A lot of people, it sounds to people that haven't heard this accent before, don't know this part of the world, it actually sounds posh. But this is actually not a posh accent or a posh area. It just kind of sounds that way, I guess, to the untrained ear. But if you hear what an actual posh English accent sounds like, it's very, very different. Can I look at the Chinese S&P? No, sorry. What even is the Chinese S&P? Replacing the dollar would be pretty hard. Yeah, I think so too. What if aliens were the creators of Bitcoin? I doubt it. The creators of Bitcoin are probably much worse than aliens, I would think. If it's a ruse, if that's the case, then it's the same thing. Oops. Go away. Same thing as the moon landing. Yeah, it could well be. It could well be. I still don't even know where I stand on the moon landing particularly. You'll notice I don't often take that many stances, right? I never know. I never know anything. USA convincing the rest of the world about alien technique. I don't know. Predictive programming is something I absolutely believe is a thing. And that's what I think that leave the world behind. There was a few films like that. It's like another one, Bird Box maybe, and Don't Look Up, I think, which was, they're all kind of framed in different contexts, but they've been doing it forever, right? They've literally been doing it forever. Alien baddies. Do I think AI trading bots will disrupt market cycles? No, I do not. Your name is Joe and you have a dog. Congrats, bro. Yeah, I don't think it's about internet censorship, to be honest. I do wonder if the AI slop we see is to just make most things unbelievable that you read online, to kind of like overwhelm information with AI so that you never know what's real and what isn't. But I don't think that pertains to the island stuff. Just as the economy goes down, they dump everything. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It is paperclip. I must be really far behind. Let's see what's in here. Just this one, done that. Happy days. How long have we been going for? Just over an hour. I'll stay for a bit longer, I think. And this can conclude Bear Market Activities Episode 1. ETH $666 makes sense. Yeah, that would make sense. The hold your nose trade. Yeah, I think so. Just buy a higher low, Chemo. I learned that from you. What are the bear market plays and sectors? Well, we're not even in a confirmed bear market yet, so let's find the tops first. Let's see if this short works on the SPY, or the S&P, I mean, and we'll go from there. Were you dehydrated when you said that, Camel? I'm always dehydrated, bro. I drink too much caffeine, I think. Too much Coke. What's XAG and oil? I don't really care about either of those. And there's no changes. There's no changes to the charts, really. Like, we can do a run through the charts in 10 seconds, right? Stocks are... We're short and strong, right? Or short and concerned. Until we make new highs, okay? Or until we find a daily cycle low in a more sideways range. But that's weeks away, okay? Simple as that. And the Nasdaq simply looks slightly more bearish and the Dow looks slightly more bullish. And that's it. Okay, then gold and silver are still in a consolidation here. Why is volume on my chart? Get out of here. And that's pretty much that, right? Probably going to find a daily cycle low soon, and then we get to decide, okay? And it's pretty much Camel's hot dog in a massive range. So lose the lows, and you have to be bearish, and I will exit pretty much all of my minor and gold positions, and break to new highs. That's what I'm expecting, and that's why I'm still long with a bunch of positions, okay? And even looking to add more positions. We've been adding, and we're not even done adding yet. So it's as simple as that. For silver, it's pretty much no different, right? That should be the low. Trade below there. It's fully failed and fully topped, and do something more like this. And of course, then happy days, right? That's why we're long and strong, and that's what we're suspecting is going to happen. Bitcoin, again, very, very simple, right? Daily cycle low, bit of chop, down into a weekly cycle low, and then we can get a bigger counter trend bounce if we're going to get one. Excuse me. In fact, let's just draw 3 squiggles, right? Something roughly approximating this would be normal, I think. Okay, 4-year cycle low. I also think we could potentially have the most bullish scenario, which is like the green squiggle here. This is where we get that kind of crazy thing that's out of character for Bitcoin. Okay, I don't think that's the least I think that's the least likely, the green one. I don't think we're going to get that at all. And then there's the kind of wild card where we force this low super early, okay? And that's pretty much that we just repeat this from here, roughly, okay? And then we come down to some silly low number. Like, I don't know what the number is, but very, very low, okay? And we complete what would be, I mean, that's about 30, that's sub 30K just about in this hypothetical squiggle. And that would put us somewhere around like 77% for a bear market. And I would think if that's the one that plays out, then that's where we force the 4-year low early. Okay? And that's pretty much that. Nothing else is different. Oil, I'm still sticking with my yellow squiggle. I've been saying it wouldn't surprise me if we sweep these highs. Okay? And then this yellow squiggle would just look like this pretty much. Okay? But ultimately, it's the same thing. It's the same with the Dixie. People ask about the Dixie, but I mean... breakdown, hard retest, resumption, 3-year low, off we go. Tell that to the bond market, still telling that to the bond market. TLT, again, long and strong on the weekly cycle, looking to see what this has got. Hoping that it kind of ranges for a bit first, and then we'll buy the dips. And that's it. So, super straightforward. Camel is my favourite Brit. Thanks. I'm glad I don't sound super British, posh, Harry Potter type. Yeah. Some people think I do. Some people think I sound like I'm from a private school or something, which is kind of hilarious. But no, if you know what a proper posh accent sounds like, then you know that mine is not it. Chupacabras, I don't know about that. I think we like the way you sound because in America they always give godly characters English accents. Yeah, I notice whenever an American does an English accent, they always do the like formal Queen English, which nobody speaks like that, but they always do that one. Bar replay back testing as it removes possibility of tricking yourself. I'm not sure. Are you talking to me here? I'm not sure if that's for me or someone else. HK50. Yeah, I mean, trade it if you want, bro. I'm not interested, though, to be honest. No disrespect. But I just don't care. I've got bigger fish to fry at the moment. Okay, if this is a real bottom in TLT and this is a real top in the stocks, okay, then, you know, that's where I want my focus and energy and attention to be. If there's one final high and we can sell the top of the metals, again, that's where I want my attention to be. And then Bitcoin, we're pretty much out of the crypto stock market, right? Well, we are out of the crypto stocks entirely, and we just got a bit of spot Bitcoin left. And so, you know, is what it is. Fine. It can't really lose, right? Either it goes up and we can sell it a bit higher up, or we hold it all the way down and then just like double or triple the stack. So whatever, okay? But it is what it is. I've made it abundantly clear a million times now. I will look at this. I mean, I don't think this is that good, to be honest. I mean, it's definitely been going up, but lower high, whatever. I don't know. I mean, if you're long, congratulations. Keep pushing it. Manage your risk around here somewhere, okay? And maybe something like this is a bit jank. You could do it this way and keep fanning it out as it makes new price extremes, which it just did. So this is legal by my system, okay? But am I going to buy this here? I don't think so, to be honest. Flea bottom. I don't know what that is. The funny thing about England is how small it is, but like every 100 miles that you travel, you get a completely different accent. That's what I think is so funny about our country. It's got a new accent every 100 miles. It might even be less than 100. Sonny's calling for risk off. Yep. I think he's probably right. I'm kind of in the same camp. I think the difference is, I think Sonny is convicted in his call, and I'm not really convicted. I'm just kind of sat here like, really, I've been saying over and over again, I want to be stopped out. I'm not cheering on this to be right, but it just seemed like I can get a tiny stop and a much bigger potential return. So it's like, I might as well take this trade. Like, what's the worst that can happen? I pay this little stop, and then we can say long and strong and flip long and get bullish. Like, there's no damage I could possibly take here, right? And huge potential upside relative to my risk if the worst should happen. So, you know, why not take this trade? You know, there's literally no reason not to take this trade. But I don't have any conviction in this trade. Like I keep saying, I have absolutely no idea. Is this going to happen? If it does, it won't be surprising. But it also won't be surprising to me if we repeat this entire consolidation from here, okay? And then do something insane like this. This will not surprise me either. Nothing would surprise me at this point, to be completely honest with you. So we'll find out, right? We'll find out. But yeah, I think that's the difference between me and Sonny. I think Sonny sees something and he's convinced of it. Whereas I just don't know. I don't know. But I don't care really. I don't need to know. But I do think for now, Sonny is right and things leaning bearish, right? Like I wouldn't be short here. Bitcoin wouldn't be 50-something% off its highs. Gold and silver wouldn't be potentially thinking about topping. If not topping, then one final high and topping. We wouldn't be that as the situation if there wasn't the potential for risk to be coming off pretty strongly here. Yep, it's true about AI making people cautious for sure, which is probably a good thing. Not sure why my last post didn't show on your chat when Loch Ness. I don't know about Loch Ness really. 0.5% to Fartcoin at the 4-year cycle lows. I mean, if that's what you want, then I can't stop you. The aliens will be presented as our saviors to unite us under one world government, and then the masses will be cheering it on. That is what I think too. That's kind of where I'm leaning at the moment. I think that makes a lot of sense. They tear the system down, including the leaders, and then bring in some new leader, right? Some new system, probably a beast system. It just kind of looks like it could be that. Do you inform your members section when you get stopped out? No. What I do is, because I give the exact level for the stop loss, right? So if I go into the posts tab, right here, okay, here's an example of, I'll scroll down a bit, right? Here's an example of a short, right? So I timestamp it in real time. I say, here's the date. I'm going short. Here's my entry. Here's my stop loss. Here's my risk per trade, right? That's what it looks like, and it's given in real time. So I literally type this out. I literally pull the trigger, type this out. Okay, boom. There you go, given. So they get the entry and the notification straight away, okay? And it could be long instead. Here's my entry, here's my stop loss, okay? And if it's a longer term trade, like, for example, here, I said, I'm adding this, which is the UK version of this, in the Sun's account, my the Junior Stocks and Shares ISA. I said I added about 2.5K in size, which is about, and then in addition, I added 5% of my long-term account. So risk is managed in the long-term account via absolute position sizing instead of stop losses. Okay, slightly different strategy. And then, yeah, sometimes I say, like, have a good weekend, or, if this happens, I'll add another short-term trade. That's what members get. Now, if I, for example, say, here's my entry and stop loss, okay, the exact level is given, and you can see it on the chart right here, just like you can always see it on the chart, right? 169, there's my stop loss, just like here is my stop loss for the S&P, 7044. If it's a long trade, like silver, you can see in gray, 48.22 is my entry, and 45.000 is my stop loss, okay? So all of those levels are given in real time. But if I'm stopped out, I often don't know about it for a couple of days. Like, people always ask me this. They're like, well, why didn't you tell us when you were stopped? It's like, I will always tell you in the next video or the next day or whatever. But I think people think I don't have a life. And I sit here watching this chart 8 or 10 hours a day so that if I'm stopped out, I can be like, oh, okay, I got stopped. Hey guys, stopped out, right? Like, no, bro, I have a life, right? Believe it or not, I've got a wife and a kid, right? And a dog, and I like to go and do things with my time. So I don't sit here and watch the tape. That's the reason I give people the levels. I give people the exact levels. So, as soon as 45 is traded, I'm out, I'm stopped. That's it, it's done. And that's it. Now, I will tell you if I take profit. I'll tell you if I move the stop up in real time. I will tell you if for the longer term account, say I risk 4% of my account on Coinbase, okay, and then Coinbase goes down 50% and I decide to cut it, securing a 2% account loss. I will then type in there and say I've manually cut Coinbase for a 2% loss. Similarly, if I put 4% of my account in on Coinbase and it went up 100%, I would say, guys, I just took profit for 100% gain on Coinbase, right? And that's how it works. So you get real-time notifications of everything I do in the member section. But again, it's not my job to watch the tape and be like, did we? Oh, not yet. Not yet. And now we're stopped. Now I'll make an update for you guys. No. Like, I gave you the level, set your stop loss, right? Manage your own risk. And I know the people often ask me this, are not using stop losses, and they just want an update for me to tell them when to cut the trade. But just use the stop loss, right? Like I said, oftentimes, like that PLTR short, I haven't looked at this in days. And I don't need to, because the risk is managed. Let the stop do the worrying, and we either make a bunch of money on the way down or we get stopped out, okay? That's it. Same as this. Like, I only check this every day because we do daily updates, daily uploads, right? Daily videos. And during those daily videos, we normally do a TA section at the end where we point at the charts. And so this is one I look at often. But like, I'll tell you another one I haven't looked at in a few days is Newmont. And again, I don't need to, because the stop is the stop for a reason, right? It's either going to get stopped out, in which case everyone knows the level because it's 105, just like it's written in the post tab, or it will move up and we'll lock down some profit, and when we do, I'll notify you with the profit lock. But no, I can't sit here all day every day and not do anything else apart from wait for a stop loss to get triggered. You know, the stop is a stop for a reason. The stop loss is a hard stop loss, so that the moment that level is traded, or if price gaps below it, it auto closes, right? That's it. So boom. Hope that clears that up. But I do see that a lot of the time. Yeah, the original tape slave. Like, guys, you're supposed to trade to give you back time, right? You're buying back time instead of trading your time for money. If you're going to sit and watch the tape, then what are we doing here? Ambrosia or Waitrose? What is that? Ambrosia? Is that a custard? And Waitrose? I don't even think we got a Waitrose where I live, bro. Oh, I reckon my local Waitrose is probably an hour and a half away. Had any financial mentors? Not directly, but indirectly I've had plenty. Pengu, Rev. No. How much wiggle room in a 4-year cycle? Yeah, 10%, about 1 weekly cycle usually. How did I get started in investing? No, not even from high-paying jobs, really. Definitely not inheritance. I'm the only person in my entire family tree with wealth. There is no inheritance anywhere in my family tree. And I started with £800, believe it or not. And it took me like 4 years to be profitable. Not like 4 years. It took me 4 years to be profitable, which actually tells you how slow of a learner I am. And I never really had a high-paid job. Like, I had a job that sounded fancy. I used to do the manufacturing processes for tablets for Big Pharma. That was like the highest I got in my career. I worked a few lab jobs, worked my way up, did validation for a bit. And then like technologist type stuff, manufacturing technologist and tablet manufacturer, which all sounds fancy, right? Like writing a protocol and a procedure, then send it off to get tested, and verify and validate it, and then test it some more, and then eventually that protocol goes on the shelf, and that is the process they use to manufacture tablets. All sounds very, very fancy. It sounds like, wow, you must have been making a fortune, Camel. Nope. And one of the biggest reasons that I ended up hating that job and pushing myself so hard to be a trader was I found out one of my friends who, nice guy, but all he did was smoke weed all day and do coke pretty much all day. And he was laying bricks, right? And he was earning something like £6,000 a year more than me. And I was like, man, I went to university for 4 years. I've worked in this industry forever, working my way up, climbing through like 4 or 5 different roles. Each one was a promotion. And my local friend that just daytime drinks, does loads of coke and smokes weed every day whilst just on site laying bricks, right, was making more money than me. And I was like, F this world, bro. I'm out. So yeah, I mean, it did give me enough financial security to buy a house and get on the ladder early in my life and get my first nice car, which wasn't even that nice, but it was nice for a young gun straight out of uni. And it gave me some security to invest my money and start to build accounts and stuff like that. But yeah, ultimately, no, I'm not from any wealth. I haven't ever seen wealth. And there's no inheritance and no high paid jobs. Nothing of the sort. Mate, I don't know how Fartcoin has got such a cult following in this community, to be honest with you. I think it's because I made 1 or 2 jokes about Fartcoin being the flight to safety. But if we were going to have our own community coin, it would be that, wouldn't it? You do focus on the US. Why not touch on the UK? I used to. If you go back and watch the early days, Camel, you'll see that we were trading this back in like this neighborhood. We were catching a bunch of these swings and stuff like that. I think if I go, will this work? No. Oh, I know where it is. I think it's under here. There you go. Look at me go. Right? When was this? January 6th, 2023. Right? We used to trade this thing actively. There's been a couple of years at least where this was my primary and best traded instrument according to my broker transactions. But generally speaking, the reason I moved away from this, okay, and I know of late, yeah, sure, this is cool, right? This is cool, and we missed that pump, but that's fine. We miss pumps every day. The primary reason I moved away from this is if you go on a monthly time frame. Wait, we need a bigger chart. You know, this thing is basically range bound forever, isn't it? Like if we drew, I mean, how many decades is this? You could argue fine, like it's gradually moved up, right? But like when you compare this to, let's overlay the SPY, it's a day and night difference, isn't it? You know? So this is why I walked away from the UK markets. There's just no point really in, for me at least, trading them. And again, I know that if you caught this move, then probably laughing all the way to the bank. But for the most part, it hasn't been that way. I also don't like, when I first started, I think a lot of people know this, I used to trade penny stocks on the AIM, the UK's AIM. And that was cool at first, right? But eventually I realized that you just get way better performance and way more consistency out of major indices. And these ones just generally trend up. And also, I like laying in a bit. Like I wake up very early all the time, but I don't like to work right away. I like to wake up and do a dog walk and think and exercise and do whatever I'm going to do, right? Like enjoy my morning. And then I like to sit down. Oops, punched the mic for the third time this stream. Then I like to sit down and like take my time and think about the trades in the kind of evening portion. So just trade in the US works way better for me. We're not looking for the smart trade. I mean, John saw the beast rising from the abyss. Yep. 24th of Feb. Gold bear flag. I don't think so. I think that's the consensus in the market, but I don't think so. Do I believe that backtesting is essential? Yeah, of course it's essential. Otherwise you don't know if you've got a winning system or not. And you can't really have confidence in your system if you don't know if it's profitable. But if you've got data to say this definitely makes money, then you can have confidence even if it doesn't feel good to pull the trigger, But if you don't really know, then you can't trust the system and you're just kind of trading blind. So you have to backtest whatever you're going to use. Hi, Mark. Ambrosia, mythical food of the ancient gods, is in aisle 4 at Waitrose. A lot of the time, I don't know if you guys are just chatting grease or if this is actually stuff. Like, I don't even know. Is this real? Where do I like to go on holiday? I'm not really a big holiday guy, to be honest. I kind of live where most people in this country would go on holiday to. So, yeah, I don't really care for holidays. And I hate airports. Airports feel so dystopian, and like the moment you walk through the door, you just give up every single one of your human rights. They can see your piece when you walk through the X-ray machine, bro. You know that. Do you actually know this? X-ray naked or whatever. I don't even know if I'm allowed to show this, but like, yeah, so in theory they've got sensor, stuff, right? Like they censor it. It's apparently got a blur thing or whatever. But yeah, like they can actually see. They can see you, bro. That's how much of a monkey you are when you go through. Like you give up all your rights and just become an animal. Like that's what it is. And then like you trade the stress as well, don't you? You're like, oh, I'm going to go on holiday and relax. But like you have to pay forward the stress to get there. And then you go on holiday and you relax. And then you pay stress to get home again. And then the net is that the relaxation you got done on holiday was equilibrated by the stress of going to and from. Maybe I'm a grumpy old man. It's probably possible, right? I don't like crowds. I don't like giving up my rights. I don't like being told what to do. So airports are not really for me. But yeah, I don't really care, bro. I live like 20 minutes from 10 beaches and I've got countryside the other way and everything's good. Are you aware of... Oh, I keep losing everything. Am I aware of premonition theory? No, I'm not. You're a senior software engineer for 30 plus years and NPCs all making as much money. I know, it's because we actually live in a communist country. Like, it's just disguised as one that's not communist, right? But everyone makes pretty much the same money. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how skilled you are or not. It's pretty wild. My wife is a nurse, an NHS nurse, and through her I learned like the standard NHS structure for like doctors and stuff. And everyone is like, yeah, doctors, they're making good money. Bro, they're really not. They're really not making good money, especially for like the hours they do, the amount of study they have to put in, like the amount of stress they have to bear, the amount of grief they go through, like all this other stuff. Like they really don't take home a lot of money until they've been a doctor, fully qualified and specialized. And that takes like a decade on top of the 7 years of med school, on top of the 2 years of college, right? On top of never getting any girls when you're growing up because you have to get straight A's, right? The whole way through. So they don't go for any parties, right? They don't get no puss. They get nothing, right? They're just studying with their head in the books so that they can go to college and study with their head in the books. So that they can go to uni and study with their head in the books. So that they can then come out and actually earn less than a bricklayer for about 5 years, bro. Right? After taxes and everything else. Yeah, they get a nice pension. But like, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And that's supposed to be like the pinnacle in this country, doctors and lawyers, right? It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The EU 50 is up 10% since 2000. Yeah, that is wild. 0.33% CAGR. I mean, would you get more in the bank? Compounded, maybe? I don't know. That is wild, though. That is absolutely wild. Do you have a plan to teach your son not to be spoiled? Not really. If you mean, do I have a solid plan in place? Have I given it much thought? No. I do not plan to have him spoiled. But he is obviously going to be born into the top fraction of the country. So there's nothing I can really do about that. I'm not giving away what I've worked hard to achieve. I don't know. Like, I'm definitely not going to be the type of dad that is like, oh, can I have new trainers? No, you can't have new trainers, right? You can't have new clothes. You can't have new nothing in my house, right? Like, you can have something for your birthday, you have something for Christmas, and that's fine. I don't believe in being, just because I never had anything growing up, and just showering him in gifts. I did fine with nothing, and he can do fine with nothing. I don't know. I think, like, I'm actually fairly humble. I know, like, I probably don't come across it online and stuff. And I could definitely be arrogant at times. But in terms of like how I live relatively quietly, right? Like I'm not out for people to see. Like I'm kind of like a grey man, you know? Like you wouldn't be able to distinguish me in the crowd if you saw me walking through town or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I think he'll be fine. Lots of martial arts as well. That always makes people more humble, I think. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes, really. Your dad made wealth from nothing. Meanwhile, you don't know if you can make it through tough times when it comes. I mean, I don't know. It's like the thing is, I think it's definitely a good question, but you're asking me something I don't really know how I'm going to handle it because I've only been a dad for 6 months. And one thing I notice about having a kid is like everyone gives you advice, but then I look at them and I'm like, bro, your kid is wilding. And people are like, oh, I've been a dad. How old's your kid? Oh, I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. It's like, okay, you've been a dad 4 years, bro. You don't know nothing yet. Like, come back to me when both kids are 30 and they haven't been jail or had drug problems or mental health or any of that stuff, right? Then we could talk about whether or not you're a good dad. But yeah, man, I don't know. The truth is, I actually don't know. I'm really enjoying the process at the moment, and I'm very, very privileged to basically see him all day, every day, because I work from home and he's here, and I can choose my hours and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. I hope he will not be a spoiled kid. I do hope that. And so far, he's spoiled from having his parents at home and stuff, but he hasn't got loads of stuff or anything like that. I think we'll be fine. Neither me nor Mrs. Camel are particularly materialistic. I do like a nice car, and she likes one or two nice, like she's got a couple pairs of designer things or whatever. But generally speaking, we don't live like that, like we live just like normal people. So yeah, I think it's fine. I hope it will be fine anyway. If not, I'll just blast him with a low kick, right? If he steps out. If I hear him say something arrogant or weak, I'll just blast him with a low kick. Get up, son. Walk it off, kid. How do you reckon Kush's grand reaccumulation? I haven't been tracking Kush because all I keep seeing is him throwing more and more and bigger wave 5 extensions, bro. That's all I see. And look, again, nobody wants it more than me. Trust me, nobody wants it more than me. But I just can't have that as the base case. And that's really all there is. I haven't been following him super closely. I think if we're honest, right, like a lot of people kind of made it their personality that the melt up was happening through this. There was a handful of melt up guys, right? And they were right when a lot of people weren't. But even as somebody that's been guilty of holding Bitcoin for too long, okay, for the most part, we sold way more tops than we missed this cycle. We only really missed, I'm just thinking, a couple of crypto stocks, sold a couple of gold miners too early, missed the top of Bitcoin, right? But outside of that, we nailed loads and loads of tops. Nailed loads and loads of trades. Our win rate has been skewed way too high for average, which is what it is. That's not skill, that's luck. But the win rate for the past year has been insane. So we've actually done extremely well. But you can't just be perma bullish and keep saying this is what comes next. I don't think you can when you look around and everything aforementioned is occurring. Like Bitcoin is already off 50% from its highs. A lot of these stocks are well in a bear market now. These maybe have one more high in them, and they maybe don't. They might actually be topped, and we just haven't worked it out yet. Okay. And this may or may not play out. And if it does, then again, like, where is the bull market? Is the bull market in the room with us? I don't think so, right? So I don't want to keep screaming. I don't think it's okay to just be perma bullish. Like I'm always more bullish than most. I'm always a bit late to the party, right? And I definitely am way late to Bitcoin, okay? Although I kind of dodged the bullet because of the crypto stock exposure. But yeah, like, I don't think it's okay to just say, bears are wrong, this comes next. Like, does it? Really? Like, is that actually, on a balance of probabilities, the most likely outcome? Because for me, it isn't. I know for some people it is. And he could be right. And again, I would love him to be right. But I just can't have it as my base case. Your piece is that small, the X-ray can't pick it up. Well, I know the feeling, bro. I do. Indicator backtest soon. Yes, loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of updates coming for the indicator, the website. Way more tools, way more bonus indicators, way more like risk management things that can go straight over the charts. There is full backtested data. We're just backtesting. You'll see when it comes out, like, it's backtested against lots and lots of things, and there's lots of variations on backtests and lots of combinations and permutations of the backtests, so that rather than just say, here's the indicator, okay, and here's the results, we've got like, here's the indicator combined with this, here's the indicator and this, here's, X, Y, and Z. So there's lots and lots of other things on top, and then you guys can basically go through it and decide what you want, what you don't want, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And, there'll be a handful of assets that don't have probability edge, and you can just discard those so that you're not trading an asset that hasn't got a profitability margin or a probability edge. And then for everything else, you can have absolute confidence in the system rather than like, trust me, bro, or go on Trustpilot and read the reviews, or go on the website and read the reviews, which are all good, right? They're all really good. But, it's still an element of trust me, bro, right? But if we're going to make this thing as good as possible, then we have to have hard data that we can just say, oh, it works, here you go, right? And and we've been careful to do that. We've been careful to make sure that we don't just wait for confirmed lows. Also, if it prints a low and then cancels it or moves it, like, that's included in the backtest as well. So we haven't just cherry picked only the confirmed lows to do the back testing. We've used every single time it ever flashes. We use that in the data so that you can see, if you just say to yourself, okay, every time the low is in and confirmed, I'm going to buy. Okay. And by confirmed, I mean confirmed with a trend line break or something, rather than the indicator not being able to move it. Okay. So every single flash of the indicator, if you were to trade every single flash, that is back tested as well. So you can have absolute confidence in what the product does and how powerful it is, because it is really good. It's really good. It's like people don't realize how good it is yet, but yeah, we're excited to get that out and people are going to be able to actually see it. You can deny being scanned. They take you on the side and do a hand search. I don't want to get touched up, bro. I didn't know that, actually. That's pretty interesting. You talk about Bitcoin miners as high beta on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin miners pivot into AI. Narrative, bro. It's narrative, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but whatever. It may or may not be right. They shepherd you on with a stick in Bournemouth. Yeah, I think it's the same. Engineers, they used to be there used to be a lot of these high skilled jobs that were high skilled and therefore high paid, but it just doesn't really work like that, right? Yeah. Nursing stress and influence can lead to high rates, high divorce rates. Yeah, but she barely works ever. Okay, for one. And two, she can't leave me for a rich doctor because you get what I'm saying? It's fine. I ain't got to worry about it. So yeah. What about Tesla? Am I bullish that stock? I haven't looked at Tesla in a while. Probably not. No, I'm not bullish with a breakdown. Can't be. Watch the failed cycle as well. If it trades through there, boom. It's over for you, bro. You're all in on cycle theory. We're heading down to 4-year low. Do you think it's sensible to reallocate some of my long-term pension holdings? Yeah, I mean, you do you, okay? But the lows are high probability. You're humble and honest. Well, I just said something incredibly not humble, but thanks. You're top tier humble. You talked about how you don't wish recession. I think I can be bipolar. I think that's really what it is. Sometimes I say incredibly sort of arrogant sounding stuff that hits the ear wrong. And other times I can come from a place of compassion. If you have a daughter, I don't think God would give me a daughter, to be honest, but we'll see. He can do with nothing will go out the window. Yeah, but I think I would raise a daughter very differently to how I would raise a son. I think I would be much kinder to a daughter and much harder on a son. For the simple reason that really, like, if you want to crush your son and so that he becomes very hard, right? Like, you want to make sure that, like, he's got an iron mind and is used to overcoming hardship and is used to getting tapped out in the gym, right? So he's humble. Like, so he understands like the difference between a real world problem and some make-believe drama, right? Like, you want to have a man that has to overcome the battle. That's why I don't want to buy him loads of stuff. It's like, you can go and figure it out for yourself, right? And then that builds like a hungry, tough, masculine energy man, right? That's really what I would want. But if it's a daughter, like, you don't really want your daughter to have to overcome the same adversity. And like, you don't really want to be like blasting your daughter with low kicks every time she's upset about something. You want to just kind of give her a hug and be like, that's okay. You can be feminine, right? You can be soft. You can be demure. Like, that's really all it comes down to. It's like, you don't want to impart masculine energy on your daughter, because then she's going to be a masculine woman. It's not really like, she's not really going to do that well later in life, right? But you want your son to be as masculine in energy as possible. And the way you create a masculine man is to like repeatedly humble it, right? And make sure it has to keep climbing to the top. Like, you can't feed him off a silver spoon. Like, you have to make him strangle his own pheasant with his bare hands and then like pluck it, right? I don't know. See, this is one of those times where I just start talking and then I catch myself. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? But I hope you get the point, right? I hope you get the point. Like, I think you can raise daughters very, very differently to how you raise sons. So I think if I had a daughter, I would probably spoil the daughter a lot more than I would be inclined to spoil a son. Jam or cream first on your scone/scone. I do it jam on top, because for me the cream's like butter. like if I had a jam sandwich, I would put the butter on and then jam on top. But it's not that deep. I don't, I'm not picking a side here. Nothing says I love you like a roundhouse to the face. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And they can learn to lean back or shell up. It's fine. Imagine what Bitcoin will do in a recession when it starts. Yeah, that's another good question, right? Another big question here is, like, again, if we're going to ask ourselves, what's the smart bet? Okay. If we say this short on this plays out, we go bear market and recession, stocks come off at least 20%, maybe more. Okay. Does Bitcoin A get absolutely smoked here, right? Or B, did it lead and is already bottomed here and it's done? It's already priced in the recession and bear market and it's fine. It's ready to move up. Now, if I ask you, which of those seems most probable, most probabilistic? Which of those seems like the most likely outcome? I suggest to you, okay, the most likely outcome is this one. You know, like Bitcoin has no real history of seeing risk off or panic selling elsewhere in markets and then pumping in the face of that. The only time I can think about Bitcoin pumping in the face of like other things blowing up is if banks collapse. Whenever there's been a bank failure, Bitcoin's always pumped. Okay, fine. That makes sense. But if we're actually talking about global bear market recession, unemployment ticking up, everything else that goes along with that, then to me, it seems it would be silly to assume anything other than this is coming. Now, of course, if something other than that comes, we can trade that, right? You can always trade the chart in front of you and you can always have your invalidations and set up trades around whatever's going on. But it seems pretty crazy to me to think that we could go recession and somehow Bitcoin would just do this or even this. Okay, not yet anyway. Maybe later in life when it is truly decorrelated and becomes the ultimate risk-off asset. That's my wildest dream for Bitcoin, that it does become the ultimate risk-off asset. But I just don't think that's going to be the case this time around. Any collab plans? I have got a long list of people I'm waiting to collab with, but I just can't really find the time at the moment. But yes, Chemo's top of the list. Sonny, Tony the Bull as well. I managed to get one in with Big Mike on Twitter recently. Any plans on the horizon for a collab? Yeah, just read that. Sorry. Guess I'm too late. You didn't notice the alert was on for live. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a random live, to be honest. It's just turned into some weird Q&A hangout session. And I did famously said 20 minutes like 50 minutes ago as well. But I got nothing better to do today, to be honest with you. Apart from wait for the market to open and maybe along Still J. Your chat is in the way when you're pointing on the far right of your screen. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I'll try to keep that in mind. So it looks like Camel won't recommend a broker. No, I won't recommend a broker for the simple reason I don't want to say go and use FTX and then FTX collapses. You know, like just please do your own research, figure out what you're going to use and what instruments it offers and the risks and the fees and the tax implications, and then figure out if that's for you. But if I say go and use FTX and then FTX collapses, like people are inevitably going to come back to me and be like, bruh. So yeah, I never recommend brokers or exchanges. I'm probably really far behind the comments again. Plucking a pheasant with your bare hands is still illegal in several forests. I don't know. Masculine women fit well into this current world. Yeah, they do, but they're all miserable and men don't like them. So it is what it is. My 6-year-old does Muay Thai and Taekwondo. Good stuff. Good stuff. Will I be your son's godfather? What kind of pie? What kind of pie? I get pie of the day, which means it changes every day. Often it's a chicken and something. Sometimes it's steak and something. Sometimes it's even pork and something in there. Smoked. Yeah, I think it will get smoked. That only makes sense to me. What do I think of Rupert and Restore Britain? Me and my wife were laughing about this the other day because, like, even though I have my opinions and people know what my opinions are on these issues, right? I'm not political. I don't care. I really don't. And I do mean that. I don't believe anyone that actually gets into power really has a great deal of ability to change anything. I don't really believe voting works. I could be wrong about that, but I've never voted. I don't care. I literally mean that I don't care. And for me, occasionally something like that whole Restore Britain, Rupert Lowe thing came on. Like, I watched a few of the videos Asmongold put out. I think he does really good commentary on stuff like that. And I was watching that and I was laughing my head off the whole way through. But that's my approach to all of this stuff. I put my feet up on the desk and I eat my metaphorical popcorn and I laugh. I laugh and enjoy the show for what's going on. But I don't care. I'm not invested in it. I'm not giving my energy to either side. Even if he got in, I think he would come in perhaps and people would back it and they would be like, okay, now we're going to make changes and now we're going to restore Britain. But the reality is, if you look at all history of all politicians ever, they all overpromise and then underdeliver massively. And ultimately, any changes that did come in would likely just be in line with the whole controlled demolition stuff we were talking about earlier. They'd be like, oh, we've solved the problem of immigration by bringing in digital IDs. So now we all know who's who and who's not allowed to be here, right? And again, is that a good trade-off? Do I really want a digital ID? Not really. Okay. Like, oh, we've solved the idea of X, Y, and Z with some thing that steals your freedom, right? Or some Orwellian or dystopian kind of overreach and surveillance system. I think that's how it would go. And then really you take a step back and go, well, wasn't that stuff planned anyway? Wasn't that all part of this anyway? So, I mean, I did laugh. I did enjoy the video. I did think it was kind of funny, but do I care? Honestly, no, I don't care. The only thing I ever used to complain about political wise, to be honest, was like the overpaying for tax. But I very recently solved this problem. I very, very recently solved this problem. And so I'm not even really going to complain about tax anymore either. So happy days, I guess. If you don't use a broker or exchange, what do you use? For what? What, for crypto? For stocks? I mean, there's only a few accounts in the UK, isn't there? If you don't use a broker, I think you've misunderstood what I said, actually. I said I never recommend any brokers or exchanges. That means I never say, go and use this exchange, right? Or my favorite broker is X. It doesn't mean I don't use any brokers or exchanges. So I think maybe that you've misinterpreted what I said. Thanks for the answer. No problem. Cheers. Any targets in mind for gold or silver at the lows? No, we haven't even seen, don't know if we've got the tops yet, so we can't set downside targets just yet. We can set it in terms of time. Yeah, I like Asmongold. I don't watch that many of his videos, but I do watch sometimes. I've probably watched 2 or 3 hours of the Epstein stuff that he put out. I watched up 2 or 3 videos on the Reform guy. I watch the occasional one every once in a while. I don't know if he still even does gaming stuff, but I'm not interested in any gaming stuff. And I think he was originally some sort of gamer. But yeah, I like his channel. I think he's pretty funny, and I think he just openly speaks his mind on things, which is kind of rare these days. Blair did make changes though. So I seem self-defeating. Well, look, okay, let's be clear. I have never paid attention to politics, so I don't really know. When I say, like, no one makes any changes, I really mean no one's made any changes that I have noticed or that I've cared about. Like I said, I really am apolitical. I was in a podcast with CPM a couple of years ago, I think, or a year and a half maybe, and he asked me who the Prime Minister was. He didn't ask me directly. He said, oh, you know, and then named the Prime Minister. And I was like, no, who's that? I literally didn't know who our PM was. Like, you don't understand the level of apolitical stance when, like, I don't even know my own Prime Minister, right? That is how detached from this stuff I am. Like, I never watch TV. I never watch the news. I don't care. And that's okay. And maybe that's just, I'm in a more fortunate position that I don't have to care. Maybe you guys don't have to care either and you're wasting your time caring. But yeah, like, that is how far detached from this system is. So maybe I could be more clear with what I mean when I say, like, I have never really seen any politicians make any changes that to me were significant, right? That doesn't mean Blair didn't change things. Maybe he did. Gordon Brown probably changed some stuff, sold all the gold, right? There's like a bunch of stuff, right? But do I care? No. Do I think Reform Britain is going to do the things they're claiming they're going to do? Probably not, to be honest. And if they did, there's probably going to be some sort of infighting, which wouldn't surprise me, okay? But again, I would suggest that that's really what it's about, causing unrest and disruption rather than actually making changes. But again, let's be clear, I'm super ignorant to all politics. Like, I don't pay attention to any of it. You should care if you have kids. Not really. No, I don't agree. I don't agree. Why should I care? Like, what? Can you elaborate? Why should I care if I have kids? Like, my job is to protect my kids. I don't believe any voting or paying attention to political issues could help protect them. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where do you go when the full dystopia is fully realized? I don't know. But it's not fully realized yet. And it might never be coming. I don't know. Some of these comments, bro. So what platform do you use from the UK? They're all restricted. They're not all restricted. There's loads of platforms. But again, I'm not telling you what I use because I don't want, it's not a recommendation because I don't want the FTX karma. Hey Camel, do most brokers in the UK have the stocks that you invest in like miners? Yeah, they do. Most UK brokers I think have them. Can anyone here recommend UK brokers? Bro, just Google it. There's not even that many to choose from. If you Google what are the biggest 10 or something, you can just work through them and figure out if they've got the ones the instruments you want to trade. Somehow crypto miners keep holding up. I'm not sure they do. You're in the Cayman Islands. No, I'm not actually. When long? Oh gosh. Rib Prime, bro. No. Advice for member that joined this week on the best way to get started. Watch the entire tutorial playlist. Watch the new members best practices video that's in the pinned comment description of all the members videos. And then go back and watch 2 members videos so you know what we're doing, where we are and why we're doing it. And then just go slow and follow along. What is up with Bitcoin miners? Nothing's up with them. What do you mean? They become part of AI trade. Yeah, I see a lot of people saying this. Do I use a ton of brokers to get around risk? I have quite a lot. Yeah, I do have quite a few because they all do slightly different things as well. Some of them have different assets available. Some of them have like different fees or charges or tax implications and ultimately, like, it's just about filling up. Some of them have limits for how much you can deposit. Some of them have limits for when you can withdraw the money, right? Like, it's all kind of a game of musical chairs. Politics quite literally affects everyday life, so we all actually care. Well, here's the thing. Let me tell you about my everyday life, and then you tell me how politics affects this, right? I wake up, and I have a couple of coffees, and I take my dog for a walk. And recently, since having a son, I cuddle my son or play with my son, right? I chill out with my wife, whatever. Then typically, my wife will take the baby off to some sort of baby group. Or today, she's gone to see some baby's cousins and her, I don't know what they would be, sisters or her cousins or something, right? So she's kind of gone out. That gives me a few hours to sit here and make some YouTube videos or go live and hang out with you guys. We're at like 12:30. I've already eaten today, but often I'll have some lunch and maybe work out a bit or something like that. I might study. I might have to work on the website or the indicator. I do whatever I got to do, right? I might be out scanning for like charts and setups or whatever. I might go for a joyride in one of my cars. I find a way to amuse myself or keep myself busy until the market opens, and then I'll kind of check on some trades. And if they're setting up, we can trade them. So for example, SILJ, I think today may or may not be a day when we could think about getting long. If we get a strong close into Friday, maybe there's a trade set up here, right? We've been sort of setting it up for a while. It might need to set itself up a bit more. I'm open to something like this as well. Okay. Drag this out. Oops. Yeah, I can stay like that. Doesn't really matter. Maybe this happens, okay, and then Camel is long somewhere in here, okay. Maybe not. Maybe I decide, nah, not today, okay, and then I'll go and do something else with my time. I might spend some time making members updates. I might choose to help the Slice crew out or do whatever I got to do. The weather's out. Sometimes I go see family, friends. I do whatever I got to do, right? The wife will be home in a bit, and the mistress is coming around later, and we'll probably have dinner together and stuff like that. It's fine, right? We're big chilling, okay? Now, where in that day does politics come into it? Okay, where in today, and that's a pretty typical day for me. We might go down the beach and hang out. We might go for dinner somewhere. The other day, a couple of days ago, we went down to the wedding venue where we got married. Me and the wife took the dog and the baby. We got some, some food there in the restaurant, and we had a little look around and reminded ourselves of how cool the wedding was. Right now, tell me, based on all of this, where does politics come in? Right. Like, how does that affect me, bro? Like, what are you, you know what I mean? Like, how does that, it doesn't matter. I don't know what's going on in politics. I don't need to know. Because tomorrow, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the same thing I did today, pretty much, right? There's some variance in there. At the moment, we're in the middle of, trying to find another property. So we've been viewing houses, and I'm going to do a second viewing on one tomorrow. And then probably have dinner with father-in-law as well, because he's knows about building and stuff. I don't, so he's going to come and have a look at that and tell me if I'm buying anything that's about to fall down or not. And then we'll have dinner with him, maybe go for a restaurant or something like that. And again, I have to ask you, where does politics come into this? You could maybe argue, well, it's tax laws, or how you're going to pay for the house, you've got to take it through a government banking system or whatever. Yeah, I guess that's true. But realistically, I pull some money out and I buy a house with it. It's not, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe, again, this is Camel being extremely ignorant, and Camel is ignorant of politics. He doesn't pay attention to it, as we've said a million times over. But where in my life does that actually, where in my life does whatever's going on in politics impact me? I don't think it does. Unless we're going to sort of really split hairs here and say, well, you said you drive a car, and legally you have to have a license to drive, and legally you have to have that insurance, that car insured, legally you have to stick to the speed limit and drive on one side of the road instead of the other. I guess that's true. And if that's how politics affects me, then fine. But, like I said a million times, where in my day, in my average day, does politics impact me? I don't think I need it. I haven't needed it. I have not known anything about politics since I was a child, and I still don't. I use a VPN. Is that me? Maybe. I don't know. Hello from Australia. Australia waking up. What time is it there? Gosh, you're all from the UK. Yeah, no one wants a recommendation. They just want to know what platforms allow UK citizens to trade everything on. Lots of them. There are literally dozens. There are dozens and dozens of them. I bet if I Google platforms to trade UK, plus 500, Interactive Brokers, City Index, IG Group, probably money.co.uk. I've never heard of that one. Free Trade. I've never really heard of that one. The ones we've already mentioned, are the biggest ones. Plus 500. eToro's another kind of big one. There you go. AJ Bell, that's quite a big one. Hargreaves Lansdowne is another big one. There you go. How dystopian is the UK in your opinion? Well, again, I live in a bubble, right? I live in a bubble in the middle of nowhere. And I just told you what I do on a boring average day in the Camel household. So I don't really encounter much dystopian stuff. I will say this, there is way more cameras around than there ever was before. There is way more average speed checks on the motorways and stuff, and they've even got cameras now that scan inside of the car to see if you're wearing a seatbelt or have a dog on your lap or texting on your phone. Yeah, that's more, I guess, dystopian than it once was. But generally speaking, what I just described to you guys is my daily, whatever you call it, like my daily experience, my daily reality. 8:30 p.m. in Western. Okay. If there's one thing you wish you'd learnt 5 years ago regarding trading, what would it be? Just manage risk every single trade. Okay, every single trade, risk only 2% of your account. Never accept a risk more than 2% of your account. And don't size up and down either. Don't sometimes bet 0.5% and then 1% and then 5%. Okay, just risk 2% of the account balance at the time per trade every time without fail. And if you do that, it will be surprising how good it is. In fact, it was only this week somebody DM'd me a screenshot of their equity curve or their P&L or whatever it was to say, oh, I've just been implementing your 2% rule for the last however many trades, and look at this. Can't believe what a difference it makes. That's the number one key thing. That really is so much more important than almost everything else. Go slow, wait for quality setups instead of try to force things, and then keep that standard trade size applied. And that is like the holy grail of trading. And it's, interestingly enough, I would also suggest to you, it's probably the thing I see people talking about the least in this space. Why care and cry about politics when you can't change anything about it? Yeah, I don't even vote. And I also feel like because I don't vote and because I don't pay attention, I shouldn't really complain about it. And I don't for the most part, right? For a long time, like I said, I complained about taxes. But you would too. Honestly, you would as well. I can tell you this. If you pay a lot of tax, then you will already complain about taxes from time to time. It's also part of British culture to just piss and moan about stuff. You know, which I think I'm not that bad at, really. I'm not the sort of guy that people are like, how's things going then, Camel? And I'm like, oh, the wife. You know, I'm not that kind of guy. Oh, the weather, raining again. I'm not that kind of complainer. But occasionally, you know, I get a tax bill through and I'm like, even my accountant didn't want to read it out loud. Okay. He turned the screen around. He went, so I said to him, how much are we talking? And he went, and then he turned the computer monitor around to face me, bro. Right. When it's like that, it was painful for my accountant to even say. He didn't want to, it was like Voldemort. He didn't want to even speak it into, say it out loud. Okay. Now, if that was you, I assure you, you won't be happy about it either. Right. But again, like, I'm not voting for someone that's going to lower taxes. I'm not voting at all. I don't even know if someone offers the idea to pay lower taxes. It is what it is, right? The challenge is, Camel, when your little ones come to school age. Yes, I completely agree. Schools are full of Herberts, and I don't know what you mean by Herberts, but that's just the kids. They'll be asking if boy Camel feels like a girl Camel today. They may be, but I know it can be done because I know two fathers closely. There's two fathers that I know that are, one's got a 9-year-old and one's got a 14-year-old, and both of those boys have been raised to. When they've been in those types of situations at schools, they were one of either the only one or one of only two other kids that said, no, I'm not doing this stuff. You can't make me. So I know it can be done. I know you can raise them with enough sort of contrarian mind or thought or behavior, enough self-respect and masculine energy. I know you can raise them to that degree where they will say, no, you can't make me do that. I'm not going to do it. And I've seen that. I've seen that with my own two eyes. One of those is directly in my family and one is not. So I know it can be done. And yeah, I agree because I was once a young boy at school as well, right? So I know exactly what it's like. And to a certain extent, you can't even control it, right? Like, what am I going to do? Not let him go to school and see the real world, or try to mollycoddle him and protect him from everything? Like, you can only do what you can do, right? Certain amount of it is like, what's that old expression? The difference between boys and men is the lessons they learn, right? To some extent, you have to just go and let them screw up so that they can sort of learn from that mistake. But yeah, I take your point. Does your wife know your mistress is coming around? Yeah, they're best friends. Risk management, so you don't have to pay learning tax to the market. Yeah, that's correct. But everyone's got to pay tuition to the market. I don't really think it's even possible to show up as a newbie and not pay. Actually, I should have said that earlier, because risk management is imperative to being profitable. But you know what? If I could actually change one thing, if I could go back in time and change one thing, I risked real capital that was a lot of money to me at the time for 4 years. And my P&L, right, looked like this for 4 years, bro. Right? And it was super disheartening because I was like, I know I can catch pumps, but I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out the risk management part, right? And during this time, I spent what was a lot of money to me learning the process. And it never occurred to me until about 4 years after this that like you could just get a demo account and learn to paper trade, right? You're going to lose and you're going to screw things up in the early days. You're going to, it's guaranteed, it's certain. So why use real capital to learn? It's kind of like if you're going to learn boxing or something, like you don't just pad up and put a gum shield in, vassy up, right? Get in the ring and then with a highly trained boxer and then be like, come on then, let's fight to the death, right? You don't do that, right? You first learn a whole heap of technique, right? And you spar very lightly and controlled and you do positional sparring or limited sparring, right? You build up to that, okay? And it's the same for all of this. It's like, if you're brand new to markets, why are you risking real capital? Like, why can't we paper trade or use like a demo account, okay, which most brokers have? They will offer you a free demo account so you can look around and get the feel of the platform and see if it has the right instruments for you. Why not use a demo account for, at least the majority of trades? By all means, buy and hold Bitcoin or gold out of the 4-year lows if you're lucky enough to time it or see something like that. By all means, get a feel of using real money and real capital to, understand what it's like to watch your real money and your real capital bounce up and down with your P&L and stuff like that, right? But for the most part, especially when backtesting strategies or, especially if you're brand new to this stuff, then why not use a demo account for a little while first? That could have saved me. I was going to lose those first 4 years no matter what. And it could have saved me like a lot of money, right? I would have been way better just tracking the S&P 500 until at least I could do 2 back-to-back profitable years on a demo account. And then it wouldn't have cost me anything. I would have had more capital at the end of those couple of years, right? And then, I would have had more money to then go into doing this with a skill set that I'd acquired and an understanding of how to manage risk. But instead, I just chopped my account up for 4 years, didn't make any money, almost completely quit. And all for what? Tuition to the market, right? But I didn't need to do that. So I do think that's a very important point. Like, you are guaranteed to lose. So you might as well use a paper account in the early days. Misha, thank you for the $10 again, bro. Move to Puerto Rico, 0 cap gains. I don't want to leave the UK. We did kind of figure out the tax thing anyway, which is good. So yeah, Puerto Rico, maybe later in life, but not yet. But the price of everything you mentioned is directly affected by politics. Maybe it is, okay? Maybe it is. That's fine. But I don't really care. It's the honest truth, bro. I don't really care. Politics affect what's right with your kids, what rights your kids have in the future. That's not even 100% true, though, is it? That's really not even 100% true. Because rich people have access to rights that other people don't. That's the harsh truth of it. There are rules for thee and rules for me, or whatever the expression goes, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you've got, for example, in this country, one of our like founding, our foundational things is like our NHS. It's always being talked about. Are they going to cut budgets to the healthcare system? Like all this blah blah blah. So always a big talking point of all politics and budgeting and whatever else. Okay, but if you're rich, you don't queue in the hospital, do you? You go private. Right? You don't book an appointment and be told, the GP will ring you back within the next 6 months and then put you on a wait list for 12 after that. Hell no. You just pay 20 grand and go and get a new knee put in, Like, so it doesn't really, it's not even true. It's not even true that politics does affect you, the local school's bad. Well, you just pay 30k a year to put him in a private school, right? Like there's levels to it, and like politics doesn't really apply. It just doesn't. Like I don't believe that most people in this with true freedom in this country are caring about the political stance or whatever, And I think I've proved that. You could say that my ignorance is just blinding me to this, and everything I look at is affected by politics. It might be, but I don't even know about the politics, right? Like, I don't even know. So is it Plato's allegory of the cave? Am I just inside the cave only looking at the shadows? Maybe, but they're way happier than the guy that goes out there and sees everything else, you know? Affects you when the tax bill comes in. Yeah, there's that, as we already kind of discussed. Where you can and can't go is directly affected by politics. I don't think that's true either. I can go anywhere I want. Where can I not go? Is there anywhere I can't go? I'm not sure. See, the 2020 flu is a great example of politics. You couldn't take your dog for a walk without permission, and all these other... Bro, my favorite time ever. I'm not going to lie. I've said this before. As soon as lockdown was there, I was outside all the time, like a fox, roaming around, bro. I've never been happier. The roads were empty. You could just joyride. There's no one around. Like, extra long dog walks was just like a daily thing. I was tired. I didn't even want to walk my dog a second or third time, but I just did it out of principle because I could, right? Like, there was loads of this. And there was people downloading track and trace apps. You didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do that. You just go out and do whatever you want, whenever you want. All my family thought I was absolutely mental because they were all like, oh, lockdown, lockdown. And I was like, no, lockdown is a state of mind. And they were like, oh my God, Camel has lost his damn mind here. Like, Camel's not handling this pandemic well. But little did they know, they were the ones that self-contained themselves and self-isolated and went through all this BS, right? And I was outside enjoying myself. I was enjoying my free time. I was enjoying the quiet, you know? So it just goes to show, like, they can tell you, and you can ascribe power to something that doesn't have power, or you can just not do any of that, right? Like, it is what it is, I think. You simply shouldn't have asked for permission. Yeah, it's better to say sorry afterwards than ask permission before, right? What if the politicians in power banned meat and you had to get tofu pie every Tuesday? I would fly meat to my house, bro. I would fly Wagyu steak in from Japan and have it landed in my house. That's what I would do. You know what I mean? Like, what if Godzilla turned out to be real and came to your hometown and crushed your house, bro? Then what would you do? What would you do? What if my staffy grew a long neck and became a giraffe, man? What would we do then? What would I feed him? I'd have to get a tree. Today I've learned that I care about politics because I'm poor. Actually, low-key eye-opening. Well, it's not about being poor necessarily, right? But, like, do you need to give your energy to this stuff? I'm not convinced you do. Ask yourself how much of your time that you have stared. Think about it like being a tape slave. You can be a narrative slave or a news slave or a politics slave as well, right? Like I was saying right at the start of the show, someone was like, do you watch your stop loss and notify members when you're stopped? No, because the stop is there. We know what the stop loss is. So the level's given. As soon as that level's traded, I'm out. That means I've got free time now. I can go and spend time with my son or walk the dog or go, I can go and enjoy my life. So it's the same as that. Like, is there any point in right now pulling up this chart and saying, you know what? We need to zoom in here. Let's pull up a 15-minute candle and let's zoom in and let's just watch every 15-minute candle until 10 p.m. tonight. You know, is there any benefit to that? Does that make me richer? Does that make me a better trader? Do I acquire skills or knowledge? I don't think so. And so now apply those same questions to you watching the news and tracking your favorite politician or your least favorite politician. Ask yourself how many times you get into a row or an argument or a debate or a discussion with someone about left versus right or up versus down or this guy versus that guy. How often does that lead to you being closer to achieving your goals and your destiny? I would argue probably not. Probably just a tape slave, bro. You know, I think I'm kind of being facetious, but it's also kind of true, I think, at least for me. And if you want to for sport or for entertainment or because it's important to you or because you worship the government, like if you want to go and do that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's just not for me. And I submit to you, it doesn't need to be for you either. At some point, you don't have enough money to cushion and it's not really matter, but when you're poor, it really matters. I would argue it doesn't matter. I would argue it's just your energy and attention is on politics instead of on how to solve whatever other stuff you've got going on in your life, right? Iranians can't go to the US and have a hard time getting into the UK. I don't know about that, but I'm British and I was born here and I live here. So again, maybe it would have impacted me if I was trying to immigrate to another country. Maybe if I was trying to marry a French broad and then bring her here, that would be a different kettle of fish. But I've got, I was born here, I live here. This is it. Again, I don't think it matters to me. Ilfracombe, the 15-minute city. What does that even mean? Good morning from the east coast of Canada. Hey, bro. For the leverage trades, is the meta trader the best tool? I mean, that's up to you, bro. That's up to you. We got Godzilla before bear market on the live stream. It's true. We did. What if I put wheels on grandma? Would she be a bicycle? Exactly. Same energy, right? Don't be a tape slave to the news. Yeah, and don't be a politics slave or any type of slave, right? Free the slave mind. We love Crackhead Friday. This has been quite a crackhead stream, hasn't it? If we're honest, this has gone even more west than I thought it was going to. And here we are at 2 minutes 20. So I think we better get out of here, realistically. But I really appreciate you being here. I hope you found some value. I'm guessing if you stayed here for any length of time at all, this must have been at least entertaining, if nothing else. Yeah, don't deep the politics too much, like it doesn't matter. If you want it, you want it. And if you don't, you don't. That's okay. And I'll do me and you do you as well. Like just because I don't care about politics doesn't mean you shouldn't, right? But that's true the other way around as well. If you really care about politics, then don't enforce that on me. We just do our own thing and it's cool. Silgy looks good, little pullback. Yeah, we'll probably buy some more soon. We're getting sub 12 VIX before aliens. We're not getting sub 12 VIX. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out as well. Okay, we will figure that out as well. Look, have a lovely weekend. Yeah. And remember, almost everything in life is us putting self-imposed limitations on ourselves, right? Like nothing really can stop you if you just decide it can't stop you, A lot of the time we ascribe power to stuff that doesn't deserve or have power. And if you choose not to ascribe any power to it, then it literally does not have power. Which means you are therefore have the power, right? Think about it like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today. I certainly enjoyed this. I am going to go and find something else to do, I guess. So yeah, big love. Have a fantastic weekend. Yeah, and I guess I'll see you soon, right? If you're a level 3 member, I will keep an eye on the charts, and if I can find an entry for SilJ, we'll get it. But something tells me we might have to do this and buy the higher low first, okay? And then that would kind of give us the cycle low, sometime around, like, you could call it day 20 maybe, and you could also use this low, which was the ultimate lowest low, day 22. Yeah, so I think, like, maybe this is coming, okay? We'll see. We'll let it do its thing. And we'll find it as always. Other than that, thank you again for being here. Have a fantastic weekend. And until next time, Fartcoin looks good here. Cheers.